Why, hello. Welcome to the Captain's Cast on a Sunday, talking about The Conjuring, talking about Superman, talking about DC, the future of superheroes. We've got a Fleekazoid video. He's been busy. Fleek has been busy. It's a brand new video. We're going to experience it together. As soon as I can get the microphone stand corrected. Hi. How are you? Did I tell you the 7 days would go by quick? I sure did. Welcome to the Captain's Cast. I am Captain Garrett of the Swords of Starships channel. We got a lot to talk about in the nerd entertainment world. We're going to be having some fun today. Why don't you come along? I love these Conjuring movies. I am all in on these. Fascinating comparison. So, the Conjuring films are, to a varying degree of seriousness, they are based upon... No, down, Sarah, down. They are based upon the real-life paranormal investigations of famous paranormal investigators and demonologists Ed and Lorraine Warren, played brilliantly by Patrick Wilson, and her last name is Farminga, but I totally am blanking on the actress's first name. Anyway, the two actors that play them are so good. Now, all of the famous hauntings you've heard about, like the Amityville Horror and all that, that's basically their stories. And they're super interesting. There's lots of movies have been made based on their cases, and there's lots of controversy about whether they're for real or they're charlatans and all that. But what I find interesting is the Conjuring universe specifically is the Annabelle films, the Nun films, and the Conjuring films, which are all kind of interconnected, and they're all part of that world, and they're all roughly part of the same vision of storytelling. But I just got curious about the other Ed and Lorraine Warren cases, so I went in to watch the film A Haunting in Connecticut, which is also based on an Ed and Lorraine Warren case. However, it's not part of the Conjuring universe. It's not the same creatives. And it was such a stark difference. I turned it off after 20 minutes. And I realized I had already done this before because I was like, wait, I remember this part of the movie. And I could not get through it because it was like the difference between Stranger Things and Saw. That's the only way I could describe it. One is a kind of creepy, spine-tingling battle of good versus evil. And the other, that would be The Haunting in Connecticut, is just sort of lowbrow, basic, gore porn, basically, and hollow and kind of empty. And I suppose some horror movies are meant to be that. But what I like about the Conjuring films specifically is they really are a story about good fighting evil, and they're very unashamedly Christian in their themes, and the characters, Ed and Lorraine Warren, are very unashamedly Christian, which is kind of unusual because it's not just that they're Christian, it's that it's literally their Christian faith and beliefs that aid them in their battle against evil. And the opening scene of this this Conjuring film, this most recent one, was so counterculture in that exact way, because it opened with a typical kind of scene that you expect to be, how can I put this without spoilers? It's the kind of scene in a horror movie you expect to be sort of pure horror, but it turns that on its head just a little bit. And you get this magnificent kind of ray of hope in the beginning of the film mixed in with the horror of like the demon that's coming after him. Anyway, I really love these characters, specifically played by these actors, and I want this universe to continue. I don't even feel like this necessarily has to be the final chapter, although they're marketing it that way. But it could be, and if so, it's a good send-off for the characters. The question is, how does it stack against the other Conjuring films? Well, I'm going to get into that, among other topics. Redoubt Productions, a historian, is in the chat. Says, I'm over here desperately trying to record narration and everything is conspiring against me. Dogs, cats, traffic, neighbors, the works. And I may have to get rid of this, but is this conspiring against you, Redoubt? That's Darth Cat. I have to get rid of that because of or I have to redo the music because the Darth Vader music. It's not like I'm monetizing these streams, but it always demonetizes the stream. So, but anyway, I like Darth Cat. Crowbar the Skull is in the chat. It says, hail, Captain, hail, crewmates, hail to you, Crowbar. Assume you'll post, I need Dark Reader. Oh, thank God. Oh, that's much better. I can't understand people that insist on not using dark mode on their devices because there's a lot of people that insist on it, and I can't identify with that. Like my eyes are so drained all the time from all the computer screens that I'm staring at all day. It's like I'll take any relief that I can get. I really will. So we should probably jump into our first topics. We have some W's I want to talk about, but we'll get into that. Let's talk about Conjuring Last Rites a little bit. I'm not going to do like the full review because that's going to be on the Captain's Ready Room if you're a member later, which is where I record my videos for the channel proper. So there will be a video on The Conjuring and my thoughts on it. I will just say this. The first two Conjuring films are absolutely spectacular. And I need to grab the cast list, Mr. Producer, because I totally blanked on the name. Vera Farmiga. That's right. Vera Farmiga, Vera Farmiga plays Lorraine Warren, and she's so good. She's so good as this character, and Patrick Wilson is just, he's like, this is the new counterculture. He's like a hard rock Christian. That's what Patrick Wilson is in this. He's just so alpha male without appearing like an alpha male. Because he's a nerd, like Ed Warren in these films. Like, he's a leader. He exhibits all of this courage under fire all the time. He's immediately a presence that communicates calm and like safety for those around him. Like the thing that is the most awesome about the four Conjuring films for me is how you have these embattled families that are living in a haunted house and these terrible things are happening to them. And it's getting worse and worse and worse. But the moment that the Warrens walk through their door, it's like you feel it's like help has arrived. And everything feels like better at that moment. And of course, that's right before things get worse. But what's great is that Ed Warren immediately exhibits this kind of calm command without... he doesn't ever have to raise his voice. He's never... he's not like James Gunn's Superman, who's like, "Where's the dog, Luther? He's just a dog." He's not unhinged and going crazy. Neither is he macho or muscular or threatening to throw hands. Like, he just has a quiet leadership and confidence about him that is, it's like a lost art of manliness. Then you have Lorraine Warren, who has this, she's a clairvoyant. So she has this ability to sense the presence of demons and spirits. She can intuit what they want. And she's kind of tormented by this. So she has kind of the superpower. But she relies on Ed as kind of her anchor. They are a perfect team. Like, they really are a perfect team. They complement each other's strengths and weaknesses sort of perfectly. What one can't do, the other sort of can, and vice versa. And with Lorraine, she has this kind of like this maternal, nurturing presence. She has this ability to to see what no one else sees when she's investigating the house. So I love how they work together. I love how they are absolutely in love with each other. There's never any melodrama about how Ed's been cheating on her or she's lost her spark in the relationship. There's none of that. They are as devoted and committed to each other as the day they met. They are 100% a professional team, and they essentially operate like detectives in a detective story. That's more or less what they are like as far as archetypes. So they're kind of like a husband-wife detective team, and it works really well because if you've seen any police procedural, the classic duo of the two detectives who are partners is a perfect template for any kind of mystery or thriller type story. So they slot very neatly into that model. Meanwhile, you have ghost stories, which are my favorite kind of horror stories. You have ghost stories that are so marvelously constructed because the rules make sense and they force actual tension and fear in the plot. See, one of the failings of bad ghost movies and possession movies is in a monster in the house story, which is more or less what The Conjuring is. They are monster in the house stories. The most important component of a monster in the house story is the house. And what the house refers to symbolically is an enclosed environment from which the characters cannot escape. In the case of Alien, it would be the starship Nostromo. In the case of Independence Day, it would be the planet Earth. In the case of The Conjuring, it's not just the house, it's also the family, because the demons will follow the family. They can't just leave. So the important thing is, for a monster in the house story to work, you can't have a sense that the characters can just escape. In the film Identity, which is not necessarily, that may not be a monster in the house story. It might be, actually. They are stuck in this hotel that they can't escape. So that's the crucial component. And a lot of horror movies that aren't that scary, that just pay attention. This is often what they suffer from. There's a sense that, well, why don't the characters just leave? Why don't the characters just, hit the highway and get out of that town? Or why don't they just walk out the front door and never go back in there? Or in the case of most possession movies, which I don't ever really find scary, why don't they just leave the room where the demon-possessed child is and just don't go in there? That's what I'm always thinking. So that's why they don't scare me. But what's great about The Conjuring is that they establish and explain the rules so clearly, without huge exposition dumps, just very simple lines. Like the characters will say, well, we can't afford to, what if we just burn the object that the demon is attached with? And Ed will say something like, well, sometimes that doesn't work, or it just makes things worse. They'll find a way to bring it back. So there's a clear sense that the families cannot escape these entities. There's a clear sense of why certain objects are cursed or why you can't just throw the object away to escape them. And then there's also a very clear sense that the ghosts are lethal. They're lethal. They can kill you. They have ways of killing you. And usually it involves getting you to commit suicide or something like that. So there's something at stake. There's something in peril. And they are marvelously terrifying. And I dare you to watch them with the lights off. The first two are the best. The first two are the best. And the first one is the best film. It just is. It's a marvelous ghost story. It's a lot of fun from beginning to end. It had me jumping at sounds in my house for 3 weeks after watching it, which to me is a sign that it succeeded at what it's doing. Now, the third one, which was The Devil Made Me Do It, which was also, all four of these films are based on a real case. However loosely, I don't know, but they are. So the third one, which was The Devil Made Me Do It, functioned more as a whodunit mystery with creepy ghosts in it, which was fun, but it wasn't as intimidating. That is my least favorite of the four. Conjuring Last Rites, I would say, is the third best of these films, and it suffers from a little bit of a lack of cohesion. I think that Last Rites essentially wanted to give the Warrens their swan song. This is like it functions as kind of a memorial to the real Ed and Lorraine Warren who passed away several years ago. This movie really is a tribute to them and, as the phrase is used often in the films, their life's work, which I think is a beautiful phrase to describe all of the hauntings they investigated and all their theories about it. It's very cool, and it functions as a kind of superhero story because the demon in this film is essentially a kind of special nemesis for Ed and Lorraine Warren, and this is kind of their ultimate battle. The problem with that is that Conjuring films are at their best when they are a monster in the house story. Now, there is a really good haunted house story in this with some really good scares and some really fun stuff. The problem with it is they spend a little too much time on the Warrens' family drama, which is charming and it's very fun and pleasant, but it seems a little bit in the weeds for what we're trying to do. We really should have been more focused on the kind of buildup of terror and suspense in this house. I also think one other problem with the film is an over-reliance on CGI jump scares and to try and make more of a spectacle. And I think that what makes these films work is how simple the scares are. You know, just seeing a face in the shadows is terrifying enough. I don't need to see some kind of giant CGI monstrosity. Almost the moment that I see that, now I just see it as a kind of comic book movie, and it's no longer actually scaring me. And that's what you want in a Conjuring film. You want yourself to be like looking at the shadows. So I didn't find myself wanting to sleep with the lights on after this movie, which is a sign to me that it did not succeed on the same level as The Conjuring 1 and 2 and at least the first two Annabelle films, which were pretty good. But that being said, on the whole, it's a really good movie with a lot of good scares, and Ed and Lorraine Warren are just as marvelous of characters as they've ever been. And of course, now Judy, their daughter, is grown up. And she is it's a kind of passing of the torch because they're sort of handing the torch to her and her fiancé. And all of that works really well. And it left me with a feeling that I don't want these characters. I want these characters to come back. I want to see them again. I don't think we have enough characters like this in storytelling. So I realize you may not be a fan of horror movies or scary movies. And I get that. If you really think that a movie about ghosts and hauntings would just be too much for you, fair enough. Personally, I recommend these films even if you're not a giant fan of scary movies because we don't have enough films about good people fighting evil and malevolent entities who are not portrayed as kind of their religion. I don't even like the word religion specifically. I like the word faith. Their faith is never portrayed as anything quaint or silly. It's never kind of mocked in the film, nor is it taken too seriously either. I mean, there's a very clear sense that their faith is as humble as they are, the Warrens. And that's something I really, really like about the film. So, and of course, that is drawn from reality, which is that is what the Warrens believed. They believed there were evil forces in the world, but they also have this reassuring philosophy that evil can be defeated and contained. And one of my favorite elements of the entire Conjuring universe, which of course is based on a real life thing, is the Warrens Museum of curios in their house, which are everything in this room. It's this locked room where everything they've ever collected that's a cursed or haunted object, they keep in this room in their house, which is they really did. They really did this. And it sounds insane. It sounds crazy. But Ed Warren's explanation for this in the films is always so convincing and good, which is because every single person that sees this room, he says, don't touch anything in this room. And the first question they ask is, why on earth would you keep a bunch of haunted, cursed demon objects in your house? And he says, because they're carefully contained. We have a priest blessing things. But honestly, he says, if you leave them out in the world or you attempt to destroy them, it can actually set the entity loose so that it will latch onto something else. So it can often make things much worse. Whereas if you just lock these things up and keep them contained, it's like getting guns off the streets. And I thought that is such a marvelous way to explain it. And it's so brilliant. Now, recently, the museum of the Warrens, not their museum was being moved. So my understanding is their daughter Judy, the real Judy Warren, is has inherited all of their belongings and everything, and she's now in charge of the museum. Well, they were moving their museum of curiosities, and the Annabelle doll, the real life Annabelle doll, which is a Raggedy Ann doll. It's not the kind of porcelain thing in the movies. It's a Raggedy Ann doll that they really do keep in a glass case that says positively do not open. And it's blessed. It's like church glass that's been blessed by priests and all this. Well, they brought it to San Antonio. And I just so happened to be in the neighborhood and was like, I should go travel and see this thing. Unfortunately, like the tickets were already sold out. It would have been a long drive, and there was no guarantee I'd get to see it. And I was telling people I was thinking about going to see the Annabelle doll. And they were like, are you out of your mind? And I said, now, I'm not saying I 100% believe in it, but I'm also not saying I'm stupid. Like, I'm not going to stick my finger in a light socket to find out if electricity is real. You know what I'm saying? So I am not going to, like, do anything that they say not to do. Like, don't touch the glass, whatever. But I would be cool to see it, right? Because that's one of the important rules with the Annabelle doll. You don't touch the glass. Now, there was a guy that came to their museum one time I guess he rode a motorcycle. He came to their museum. Because they did used to give tours of it. And of course, they always told people don't touch anything. Well, the guy disobeyed the rule and he touched the glass. When he was leaving the Warrens' place, on the road, he immediately got in a car accident and was killed. Make of that what you will. Now, when the Annabelle doll was in San Antonio, a guy who went to visit it, I think like the next day, died of something. It's let me see if I could find this, because this really happened. This was recently, like with a couple of months ago. See if this finds it. Oh my God, this is so creepy. This is so creepy. Paranormal investigator Dan Rivera, who brought the Annabelle doll to San Antonio in May of 2025, died suddenly on July 13th, 2025 in Pennsylvania at age 54. His death was ruled a natural cardiac-related death after an investigation, and the coroner confirmed the doll was not present when he died. I'm not laughing. That's terrible. I'm not laughing at his death, of course, but I'm laughing at the fact that we have to verify the Annabelle doll was not there. Rivera was on a national tour with the alleged haunted doll. All I'm saying is, make of that what you will. So at the end of the day, I think the Conjuring Last Rites, I highly recommend it. I think it's a great film. It's doing fairly well so far in its opening weekend. I'm going to give it... I'm kind of sitting at a 7 out of 10 on this one. And that's only because it's not as good as the other Conjuring films, because the focus is a bit... They kind of split the difference between the haunted family and then the Warrens. It takes a little too long for the Warrens to get involved, and I found that a bit frustrating. But as far as another adventure with the Warrens, it's a lot of fun. And I really enjoyed it. And I love these characters and will continue to do. Yes, Crowbar, dark mode just looks cooler, but it's better on my eyes. You know what I'm saying? Wrangler says a whole lot of Ola. Welcome, Wrangler. Assume you'll post. Universal is in the chat. Welcome, Universal. What film, you ask, what horror films would you consider true horror? Horror has a broad range. Horror films only until recently have made a profit. True horror. I think true horror... I think that the Conjuring films are true horror. I think they are. Weapons is more of a thriller to me because it's not, I think horror requires a level of bleakness to it. I think horror requires a true lack of hope. Horror is pretty much, it's pretty much an exploration of all the darkest corners of the human soul. I mean, horror films are as much about the audience as they are about the story, because the fact that we seek horror films out is kind of part of what makes them a horror film, because they reflect what we have within us, which is fears, a preoccupation with violence or destruction or whatever. I mean, they represent the dark side of the human soul. That's just what they represent. So what films would I consider true horror? I mean, basically, yeah, any of the typical ones, like the Saw films or whatever. But Weapons had a better opening weekend? Probably. Weapons is brilliant. Weapons is, I think, what did I give Weapons? I think it's a 9. I might have said a 9 out of 10. I'm kind of leaning 10 out of 10 for Weapons. I think I'm pretty much saying Weapons is a 10 out of 10. It's a phenomenal film. Final Destination Bloodlines also had a stronger opening. Both are termed horror. Yeah. So I think that kind of the line between thriller and horror is not as much about the scares, not as much about things like gore or, murder or complete hopelessness. I think a thriller is more about the mystery, about the finding out, which Weapons to me is more of a dark, scary mystery. And it is a great mystery. When they reveal what's going on at the end of the film, it's so good. It's so great. It's exactly what I wanted for Christmas. I don't care what Hollywood thinks, Universal. You said, I agree with your definition, but Hollywood doesn't. I don't care. I don't care what Hollywood agrees with or doesn't agree with. Well, I think that Blake Snyder's genres are better anyway, which is horror is a marketing term, whereas a description of what a story is what the Blake Snyder 10 genres are. So the Monster in the House film describes essentially the mechanical pieces of a film. So, for example, The Conjuring 3, which is The Devil Made Me Do It, is considered a horror film. However, in the Blake Snyder Save the Cat beat sheet, it's actually not. It's not what the first two are. The first two are Monster in the House films. And the third one is a Why Done It, because the focus of the third film is that there's a guy who's been put on trial for murder, but he's claiming he was possessed, and that's what made him commit the crime. And so the Warrens are helping his legal team by trying to find evidence. They're gathering evidence that he was actually possessed, and they wind up basically having to follow a trail of clues, and there's a dark twist at the end, and so that's not really a Monster in the House story, because there's no locked room, it's not about a haunting, it's about them finding out what really happened, and there's lots of creepy stuff that happens. Then you have Monster in the House stories that I don't really consider horror films, such as Independence Day. Independence Day is a Monster in the House story about aliens invading Earth, And the rules of a monster in the house story are basically they're the most primal type of story because they're basically about our earliest instinct, which is don't get eaten. That's what they are. They're about don't get eaten. So Godzilla films are usually a monster in the house story. However, Godzilla Minus One is an exception to that rule. I consider Godzilla Minus One a dude with a problem story, which a dude with a problem story is about an ordinary person who is drawn into an extraordinary battle of life and death. And that is probably my favorite genre, by the way, is dude with a problem. Now, what's the problem? I would agree Exorcist is true horror. Yeah, for sure. I would say that this fourth Conjuring film, Last Rites, kind of it shows you why being able to clearly define what the film is important. Because when you have a film that kind of breaks the rules, right, it's actually kind of hard to classify. And I think that Last Rites is not exactly a monster in the house story. I think it has a monster in the house story within it, which is the Smurl family trying to deal with this demon-infested mirror in their house, which is, there's some really fun, gnarly stuff in there, and I liked that a lot. There just wasn't enough of it. And then you have another story going on, which is the Warren family, and that functions as a kind of superhero story. So in a superhero story, you have an extraordinary person or group of persons, and you have a nemesis. And in the case of the Warrens, and you also have a curse, right? The hero always has a curse. So in the case of the Warrens, their superpower is that they can fight and contain demons, right? But their curse, and which also includes Lorraine's clairvoyance and Ed's ability to conduct exorcisms, even though he's not a priest. And their curse is that all of these evil entities that they have stopped and all these people they've helped has come at a great cost, which is Ed is suffering from heart disease, and that's why they're kind of not able to keep doing this. Lorraine is kind of reaching an emotional breaking point. She just can't handle it anymore. She, just experiencing the evil so many times has taken a lot out of her, and she's even not wanting her daughter to follow in her footsteps. So the curse is they pay a high price for their ability, but yet people still need them. And then the nemesis is the particular malevolent entity that they're fighting in this film has it in for them specifically. So really you have kind of a superhero smashed into a monster in the house story, and I think it doesn't work as well as the other films. I think they should have just focused, they should just built the story more around the Smurls and pared down the Warren story. But they really wanted to give the characters a swan song, I think. And it kind of split the difference. Wrangler asks, would Event Horizon be considered true horror? Yes, absolutely. I think it definitely, yeah, because it's about, it's actually, it's great horror. It's cosmic horror. It's a perfect example of what I consider true horror, in fact, because true horror is, it really takes our kind of comforting beliefs that there's meaning in the universe and purpose to our lives and hope for our future and a light at the end of the tunnel and that everything happens for a reason. All these things we comfort ourselves with, good will ultimately prevail over evil. All these things we believe or want to believe, that there's order to the universe. Horror exists to show us how dead wrong we are about all that. Horror exists to tell us we never had a chance. We just didn't know it. And that's what Event Horizon's about. Event Horizon is a space travel film, right, that is about inventing faster than light space travel, which ordinarily would be the foundation of a fun science fiction adventure story. But in the case of Event Horizon, it is there to tell us that we are fools. We are absolute fools for tinkering with the fabric of reality, and we're going to pay a price for that. And that's what I like about it, because we unleashed evil because we were tinkering with the fabric of the universe without understanding it. Yeah, that's horror. So this show, Alien Earth, which really is a dumb show. It is a really dumb show. It also happens to be kind of entertaining in spite of that. I have to tell you. Kind of like Alien Resurrection. Honestly, it's kind of like Alien Resurrection, which is a really dumb movie, but I enjoy the hell out of it. I kind of think that Alien Earth is falling along those lines for me, where even though it's so dumb, it is so retarded. It's such a stupid show, I should say. I kind of enjoy it anyway, because like the set design is so cool. It's all retro futuristic, recreating, the films, and the creatures in Alien Earth are really cool. They really are. And they're very, unfortunately, this is the only problem with the creatures. The alien is the least interesting creature in this film. The xenomorph is the least interesting. And honestly, the xenomorph comes across as kind of getting bullied. The xenomorph is getting bullied by the other monsters. And the synths, dude, the alien is getting its ass kicked in Alien Earth. It really is. They're not scary at all. Like, I'm telling you, if by the time you get to the end of Alien Earth, you're going to think you could beat a xenomorph. I'm telling you. You're going to think you could beat one. That's how nerfed it is. Is that what the kids are saying these days, Lieutenant Producer? Nerfed, right? Yes. From video game vernacular, referring to when you deliberately power scale back a character so as to balance the game. Exactly. That's exactly just what I said. So, yes, they have completely nerfed the xenomorph in this. And what's so funny is in this most recent episode, there's this creature I really like, which is it's like a little octopus, but except its body is like an eye. It's terrifying. It's Lovecraftian. It's marvelous. And it turns out that this little critter is actually intelligent. It might even be sapient. They're kind of hinting at that, but it's not clear. It might be sapient. And it attacks the xenomorph in the episode, and the xenomorph is screaming and like, get it off, is basically the equivalent of what the xenomorph is saying. It's all, it's like making the xenomorph sound like it's like but like it's whining. It's so sad. And the xenomorph's all like, oh no, I want it off of me. It's as bad as the humans. When the humans get attacked by it, the xenomorph did the same thing the humans did. And I think that's really funny. So like the xenomorph is lame. The xenomorph is just an old, dated concept. The other critters are kind of more interesting, which is why the show's so dumb, okay? That's a big reason why it's so dumb. How can you possibly nerf the xenomorph? How stupid do you have to be to create an Alien Earth season? Anyway, what was my point with this? Oh yeah, this was my point. So on True Horror. So as you know, I am a giant fan of Star Trek. I'm a giant fan of science fiction. I love Mass Effect, exploring the universe, discovering alien species. I believe one day we will reach across the stars far beyond our own lifetimes. As Michael Caine says in the magnificent film Interstellar, it's our birthright and our destiny to explore and discover new life and new civilizations. So that would be the kind of happy, optimistic part of me that believes there's good things to discover out there, and won't that be just a grand old adventure? And what I like about Alien Earth is it is basically saying you do not want to know what's out there. Trust me, bro. You don't ever want to see it. And that's kind of cool. Like, Dude, my skin is crawling every time I watch an episode of this show. There is this creature that's like it's like a bug like this big, but it can suck all the blood out of your body in like a minute. And they're terrifying. They're terrifying. And there's this whole scene where it lays a bunch of babies in this chick's water bottle. Oh my God. It's so bad. And it's great because it's terrifying and it's gross and it's awful. And it makes me think I don't ever want to discover alien life. And the last thing I want is for anyone to put that alien life on a ship, because the real great horror of this show, dumb as it is, the real great horror of the show is that they're bringing all this shit to Earth. It's like, no, because once any of these critters get loose on Earth, it's going to be a nightmare. And then, and this does hit me because I was playing Mass Effect years ago, and I remember thinking, okay, let's just imagine for a second that this is for real. Like the Federation in Star Trek is for real. And you've got all these alien travelers coming and going. You've got aliens living on Earth. You've got starships exploring every corner of the galaxy, cataloging all these other life forms. Do you realize what that would mean? That would mean that every starship entering orbit of our planet would have pollen from other worlds on it, possibly mites or larvae or eggs attached to the hull of the ship. The mud on the boots of the alien traveler that steps onto the soil of New York would be tracking possibly like seeds or spores or eggs from alien organisms from the other side of the galaxy, which would then become invasive species on our planet. And how would we ever get rid of them? How would we ever filter them? We can barely do this within our own planet. Like, we have species from Asia that are infesting the wetlands of Florida. Literally in Florida, they have traps that they deploy to capture all of the invasive, anaconda species that are becoming a giant problem. You have the common house cat, which has been introduced into the ecosystem of Australia, and it has more or less wiped out several species of rodents indigenous to Australia. Like, it's driven multiple species to near or complete extinction, because house cats are actually pretty good little hunters, and they kill a lot of shit. So they're killing all these rodent species. So my point is, look at how much damage an invasive species from our own planet going to the other side of the planet can cause. Can you even imagine the damage that all these alien plant life and fungal life forms and to say nothing of animal life forms, can you imagine what that would do? So then you have Alien Earth, where they're bringing these things to the planet, and it's terrifying. It's blood-curdling, and it makes me think, oh my God. Someday, if we discover how to travel faster than light, a corporation is going to do this. They are going to bring things to this planet from other planets that will be so destructive and so horrifying. So now, that's the purpose of great horror right there, to make you doubt your belief in everything. to crush that childlike wonder and optimism, and remind you that you are a walking meat puppet. That is the purpose of true horror. So there you go. Is there a thriller genre on its own, or is it considered a subcategory of horror, says Universal? Well, I think thriller is its own genre. I think it's its own genre. I think horror is specifically meant to be repulsive. I think the purpose of horror is to cause revulsion in the viewer and repulsion, because it's meant to show you the things you don't want to see. And that's what we like about it. Look, however civilized we may be, however enlightened or educated we may be, we are still descendants of creatures which have evolved on a very hostile and dangerous planet. And part of our instinct set is our instinct to hunt for food and to destroy danger before it gets us, and to get the hell out of the way of danger as much as possible. So violence and fear are part of the fabric of our instincts and always will be. But in our modern civilized world, generally, we have shed those baser instincts, shall we say, but they're still there. And so horror, I think, allows us to explore our lizard brains kind of natural instincts in a safe environment. I think that's what the purpose of horror, or at least that's why we like it so much. It allows us to confront our fears and our dark side without actually, in a fantasy world. It's not actually acting on it. I think that's really the kind of the function. And I think I'm not like the biggest fan of horror in general. I'm not like a super, like, I got to see that movie. I like about 10% of horror movies I will go see because there's something really unique or interesting about them I really want to see. But I'm not like a horror fan. I'm not a huge horror fan. But I do see why we are, as humans, a horror fan. And who doesn't love a good horror movie once in a while? I think we all do at some point. We all want to be scared a little bit once in a while. Horror was scary or evil, says Universal. I suppose that's... I mean, I don't think that's a mistaken belief. Okay, cool. So that's Conjuring Last Rites. Now, it might be that we have to do... Where is it, Mr. Producer? Okay, we might just have to do a little bit of grave dancing.
What are you laughing at?
That's right, it's time for a little bit of grave dancing. You see, it's not been a banner year for Hollywood. It's not gone well, and we have the angriest man on the internet, Ryan Cannell, to report it for us. Take it away. Sound, Mr. Producer? Yes, take it away.
For the past several years, as Hollywood entertainment has continued to disappoint at the box office, we've heard the same thing in the aftermath of the COVID shutdowns, and then, of course, the strikes that went on over the past few years. We heard everybody in the industry saying, survive till 25. Everything will be better in 2025. We have a huge list of things that are going to be smash hits. It's going to bring people back to the theaters, we promise. Well, it turns out Survive Till 25 did not exactly work out, because despite so many analysts and people in the entertainment business, studios, theaters, everyone saying it's going to be over $4 billion this summer. Look at all these things that are going to be smash hits. Fantastic Four, Superman, no problem. It's going to be great. It didn't exactly turn out that way. And even just a few months ago, before the summer truly officially started, we had people talking about all these movies that would potentially hit $1 billion at the box office and that superheroes would be back. This is our year. It turns out that it's not. Summer box office clobbered by kryptonite. Domestic revenue barely matches last year. The May to Labor Day season initially soared, but global grosses took a nosedive as foreign movie ticket sales plunged further and a glut of male-skewing tentpoles battled for scraps in the U.S. I do love how they just had to mention that, these movies that are supposed to be made for men, they didn't show up. Why didn't men show up to these movies? I can't imagine why men didn't show up to franchises and IPs that have been completely and totally gutted. I can't imagine why that might be the case. But it's true. Despite people projecting well over $4 billion in 2025, despite the industry continuing to say, don't worry, we'll be back this year, it was not the case. And when you...
I have to say, even I am rather shocked by this result, because I certainly did not expect Superman 2025 to make $1 billion, but neither did I expect that it would be this bad. I mean, you have James Gunn's Superman, which is a fairly good film and mostly pretty entertaining and enjoyable. It still falls well short of the mark in many ways. As I say, the strange thing about Superman 2025 and Fantastic Four is they both feel like TV episodes to me. They both feel like TV season finales, where Fantastic Four feels like an episode of Star Trek or Stargate. This just goes to show you that constantly attacking your audience, dismissing your audience, telling them this isn't made for you, if you don't like it, don't watch it, the media gaslighting and gassing up all of these films and protecting them. I recently rewatched the Chernobyl miniseries again, and there's another line in that I really love, which is when Valery Legasov, he's the scientist who's sort of in charge of like cleaning up the Chernobyl disaster. He's in the trial explaining what went wrong, and he says, every lie incurs a debt to the truth, and sooner or later that debt must be paid. Well, Hollywood has been lying and lying and lying. They have been lying about their box office numbers. They have been lying about the modern audience and what it's composed of. They have been lying to themselves. They've been lying to the media. They've been lying to audiences. They lie to each other. They've been lying about who's to blame for the failures of their companies and their films. And all of those lies, they've been lying to the consumer, to the customer, to the theater goer. They have been lying in the trailers, lying in the interviews, lying in the media articles about what customers could expect when they saw their film. They have lied to the customer over and over and over and over. And when the customer said, this was not what I expected, this is not as good as the previous, this is not what I wanted, they have lied to the customer's face and said, well, that's not true. That's just review bombing. Oh, that's not true. You just probably are a sexist and don't like female Silver Surfer. Oh, that's not true. You really do like this. You're just saying that because you're a grifter or something. And all of these lies have racked up one hell of a bill. And this is the bill. Nobody trusts these films anymore. Nobody trusts these trailers. How many times have we watched a trailer that actually looked kind of good and we still are sitting here saying, I'll believe it when I see it? That's the price. That's the cost. Every lie incurs a debt to the truth.
When you look through this entire year of 2025, which is supposed to be full of a bunch of smash hits for Hollywood, as movies, because of strikes or stuff like that, ended up getting pushed back to 2025, they thought they had a loaded year. But then what happened? Snow White
Redoubt Productions has returned to the chat.
bombed. Captain America Brave New World bombed. Thunderbolts bombed. And then we actually get to summer, things like Mission Impossible didn't perform like expected. That was disappointing in terms of its box office numbers. Superman, Fantastic Four, as much as people might want to try to spin this, both of those movies are very disappointing compared to what they expected after what they put into them. We've had one movie, Lilo and Stitch, that cracked $1 billion at the box office, and that barely got over the $1 billion hump. And although you've had a few movies, like, say, Sinners and F1, that have overperformed expectations, everything else has underperformed. And we're just talking about domestically, not even factoring in how piss poor the international numbers have been across the board for Hollywood. And here we are. And maybe the best indicator of this entirely was Labor Day weekend. This Labor Day weekend, which turned out to be one of the weakest we've seen in history, we did have some new releases, but all of them got beat by Weapons, which is the only movie in theaters that crossed $10 million at the box office this weekend. And it's, third weekend of release? Maybe in fourth.
That is so impressive. That is so impressive that these films like Sinners and Weapons that are original, they're not some sequel or prequel or interequal or requel. And this is what audiences are going to see. This is what audiences want because they're actually artistic works as opposed to corporate slop that has been fed through the algorithm wood chipper.
I think third weekend of release for Weapons, and that's doing good. It's a good hold for Weapons. I really liked Weapons. I think it's doing well, but obviously not enough to save what we've seen this summer. And second is Jaws, a 50-year-old movie. The 50th anniversary of Jaws beat every new release from Hollywood. Caught Stealing. It beat Caught Stealing. It beat The Roses. Freakier Friday still sitting there at fourth. Fantastic Four all the way down to sixth. It is one of the most miserable
Universal says Superman only made $51 million profit. Superman has only 2 weekends, this one and the next, left at box office in select markets, down to 1,000 screens, 350 next week. Has underperformed since August 8th. So Ryan is wrong. International numbers are actually doing well. Domestic numbers are all down. Well, that's what he's talking about. He's specifically talking about domestic numbers. Isn't he? I thought he was.
Labor Day weekends that we've ever seen, as the people in Hollywood still scratch their heads thinking, I thought this was it. I thought we were going to be back. And then now the excuses will come out because that's what we've seen every year since the pandemic. Whatever happened to the mantra survive until 25, the go-to refrain for theater owners and Hollywood executives trying to remain optimistic when the box office kept slumping last year, with revenue lagging well behind pre-pandemic levels. Perhaps the mantra disappeared this summer when it became clear that not even the likes of Superman or even bigger and scarier dinosaurs could save the day. As the
dinosaur
summer season wraps on September 1st, Hollywood is facing a worst-case scenario. May to Labor Day ticket sales in North America barely matched the $3.7 billion collected in 2027, even if the deficit was only $7 million. Piling on, Universal's re-release of Steven Spielberg's 50-year-old Jaws beat 2 new studio films domestically over Labor Day. All assumed this year's summer lineup would have the strength to equal or surpass the $4.09 billion grossed in 2023. If you remember, that was the summer of Barbenheimer, 2 movies that were not expected to do as well as they were that just absolutely took off. But it isn't to be, leaving studio execs and exhibitors in a state of shock as they wrestle with how to operate in a new world order where moviegoing might never return to pre-COVID levels. I'm very, very nervous for the future, says one top studio exec. There are all these studios and companies making movies. I don't think there's enough of an audience for them. That is not a sentiment theater owners and many other studios share. They think the solution is more product delivered to their big screens. And it's funny because I know a lot of people want to have revisionist history when it comes to Fantastic Four and Superman, but the talk from a lot of people in the entertainment industry and a lot of people that shill for the entertainment industry was, we could have $3 billion movies. Which one's going to win July? Jurassic World, Rebirth, Superman, or Fantastic Four? Like, they could all 3 hit $1 billion. I never thought that was the case. My predictions were still too optimistic. Right? I said about $950 million or so for Rebirth. I said $700 for Superman and $650 for Fantastic Four. I was too optimistic on all of those things. Jurassic World Rebirth certainly did win globally, no doubt about that. Superman with a disappointing barely over $600 million, despite how many people want to shill and spin for that. And Fantastic Four, incredible.
See, look at that, Universal. He just said the international numbers were good for that movie, so he agrees with you.
Incredibly disappointing at, just a little over $500 million as we sit here. But this is the state of the industry. Survive till 25 was a lie. The trust that the audience used to have in the entertainment industry has evaporated. It takes a lot for people to...
Yeah, look, there's 2 major problems. There's 2 major problems that the entertainment industry is suffering from. And these are precisely the 2 problems I think they're blind to and cannot fix. Well, blind to or cannot fix. And the first one is corporate assembly line entertainment. Entertainment has become corporatized, and what corporations always do is they create what's called a term I have recently discovered called enshittification. Corporations, which are by their very nature committees of investors and shareholders who know nothing about what they're invested in other than that, how does it make me money? And all they want is a safe bet that will return them money on their investment. And so corporations enshittify everything because Cracker Barrel is a perfect example of enshittification. Let me show you something, my dear chat. I want to show you this. I have a confession to make while I'm at this. Don't let me forget, Lieutenant Producer, the two things. The first one is corporate enshittification. We're going to talk about that. I got to find this. Here it is. I think I have it. Yes. Okay, so last week I was a little bit irresponsible, okay? I was talking about this Cracker Barrel babe, Julie Fells Messino, who changed the logo to that awful corporate logo, and she went on TV and she was just like, oh, you know what? Perfect example. What did I just say? How they lie to themselves, how they lie directly to the faces of the customer. She had Michael Strahan asking her point blank, like, how do you feel about the criticism of some of your choices with Cracker Barrel? And she said, well, the feedback has actually been overwhelmingly positive, which is a lie. It's a lie. And I was telling you how the problem with this babe is that she's not a restaurateur. She's not a chef who started her own restaurant and rose through the ranks. She's not like Chef Ramsay, who is running all these restaurants worth $60 million a year based upon his knowledge as a chef and his business savvy as a restaurateur. She's none of those things. She's a corporate pencil pusher. She's a bean counter. She's a climber. But that was actually my conjecture and speculation. I wasn't, and see, in IRL conversations, you can just run your mouth like that because you're like, well, it's speculation. But I have a responsibility, my dear chat, a responsibility to you as a public figure now. Don't fact check that statement. As a public figure, I have a responsibility to be responsible with my statements. I can't just say something without having any evidence to back it up. That was pure conjecture on my part. I actually had no idea what her history was, and it occurred to me after the stream that I had made this error. I was like, you know what? I completely just gave my audience my conjecture as if it were the gospel truth. I basically said to them, this is her history as a corporate climber, and this is why she sucks at her job. And I should have said, I believe that the most likely case is, and then I could tell you all of that, so that it would be clear that this was speculation on my part and might not be true. I could be dead wrong about this. She might actually be a restaurateur who had a bunch of food trucks or something. But I knew she didn't. I fucking knew she didn't. How did I know that? Still, I had to verify for myself to see if I made an error. And so I went and I looked up her resume, which is on the Cracker Barrel website. And check this out, chat. President and Chief Executive Officer, Cracker Barrel Old Country Store, Julie Fells Messino. named President Chief Executive Officer for Cracker Barrel in July 2023 and assumed the position, along with an appointment to the company's board of directors. That's how Grand Moff Tarkin would say it. In November 1st of 2023, a seasoned executive with a track record of success. Miss Messino has had more than 30 years of experience as a chef in a kitchen, as a restaurateur, as a food truck entrepreneur. No. She's had of driving innovation and growth for globally loved and recognized restaurant and retail brands. Are you ready for her resume? Folks, never doubt this. I was dead on accurate. I did not know this for a fact, and yet I still knew it. She previously served as the president international of Taco Bell, a subsidiary of Yum Yum Brands. So she was the president of Taco Bell from 2020 to 2023. Before that, she served as president of Taco Bell. Wait, what was that? President International. Before that, President North America. Okay, got it. Before that, she served as the president SVP of GM Fisher Price at Mattel, a toy company. Prior to that, she was the president and chief executive officer of Sprinkles Cupcakes. Because she was a baker? Because she herself was a successful business owner of a confection business? No, she just ran it. So how did she get in this position of chief executive officer of Sprinkles? Well, before that, she was in various leadership roles at Starbucks. She began her professional career in corporate positions, a variety of retail companies, including Godiva Chocolatier, Coach, J. Crew, and Macy's. Macy's! She has a Bachelor of Arts in Communications, read marketing. It's a marketing degree from Miami University in Oxford, Ohio. I was exactly right. Exactly right. I read that after the stream and I was like, I still shouldn't have, represented my speculation as if it were fact. That was still an error on my part, but it doesn't change the fact that my speculation was dead on accurate. Deadly accurate. She's a corporate climber with a communications degree. She doesn't know anything about pleasing customers at a restaurant, about good home cooking food. She doesn't know anything about that. And she's exactly like the people running all of these studio companies. She has enshittified Taco Bell. She's the one that presided over the removal of the beloved, celebrated Mexican pizza. What kind of psychopath deletes the Mexican pizza from the Taco Bell menu? That is a sick person right there. And they had to bring the customers begged them for the Mexican pizza so much that they had to bring it back. Think about that. This genius who has presided over all of these companies in her brilliance deleted a menu item that was so popular the customers had to pressure the company so much that they said, okay, fine, we'll bring it back. And she got promoted. This is what happens to Uber, to DoorDash. This is what happens to department stores, retail stores. It's currently happening to Costco. It's happening to every major company because the minute you have all these shareholders and board and investors, they start pressuring you to raise prices, lower quality. That's always what they want. And it's called enshittification. And it's what happens to everything that's publicly owned and traded. And it is exactly what has happened to our entertainment industry. You want to know why the 2025 box office was a complete disaster? Because they enshittified it for 5 years. And they're completely incapable of identifying this problem because they are the problem. They are corporate goons. Leslie Headland was given a Star Wars TV show based on absolutely no qualifications. When she was asked what her favorite Star Wars movie was, she said, "I love all of them." She's a corporate knife fighter, like this babe, like Kevin Feige, like Bob Iger. They don't know anything about entertainment. They don't know anything about pleasing an audience. They have no clue what the creative craft is. The way they speak of art is disgusting and filthy and clinical. Well, you see, we have several IPs to mine. And we're very excited. We have very positive feelings about our upcoming Moana property. We definitely think that will be mined for lots of good content. It's an Orwellian nightmare. So that's problem number one. Corporate enshittification, no way to solve that because they are themselves the corporate enshittifiers, and they're never going to solve that. Second problem, and this one's much easier, but they're blind to it because they are the purveyors of it. Wokeness. Left-wing wackoism. Basically a one-sided, intolerant view of the world that does not allow for a diversity of ideas or thought. They are propagandists. And it's very simple. Get woke, go broke. It's just that simple. Survive until 25 meant survive until we can get out from under all of the DEI wackos who have blue hair dye soaking into their brain matter. So that we can write actual stories. And that did not materialize. Now, things got a little better. Things got a little less out of control. But it's too late. It's too little, too late. Until they understand, until the lesson is learned. Think about this. We are, 3 years removed? 2 years at least? 2 years removed from the Bud Light fiasco, which itself spawned a series of these. We had Starbucks had to pull their entire Pride line. We had Target had to pull all their tuck-friendly toddler swimsuits. You had company after company after company that got absolutely bodied every time they tried to push this shit, to the point where this year there was no Pride Month. And you have Jaguar. That's how the British say it. You have Jaguar, which has completely collapsed. After all of those events, this chick still enshittified Cracker Barrel because she still did not understand the lesson. Get woke, go broke. So that's the state of the entertainment industry. Until the lesson is learned, the beatings will continue. And that brings me to my next little nugget of grave dancing, if you will. This is a fun one. Are you ready for this one? So, you know how I tell you that all of these actors and directors and writers and video game creatives, they all think that the purpose of them creating video games and movies and acting in them and so forth, they think the purpose of that is so that they get paid to do that. That's what they think it is. The purpose of being an actor in a movie is so that I can have a job being an actor in a movie and be paid for it. That's the purpose of the movie. That's why the movie exists. No other reason. Well, okay, I take that back. It also exists to promote trans issues. But other than those two reasons, there's not really any actual purpose that a movie serves. Now, Simu Liu of the Eternals, not the Eternals, Shang-Chi. He is a classic example of this mindset. Hat tip Cosmic Book News. Simu Liu is upset that the Superman sequel came so fast. while Shang-Chi still lacks a launch date. How delusional, man. How delusional do you have to be? He's like, well, Superman's already got a sequel greenlit. Where's my Shang-Chi 2? Nobody fucking cares about Shang-Chi. What are you smoking, man? This guy, talk about main character syndrome. This guy thinks he's the new Tony Stark. He thinks he's Robert Downey Jr. He's like, where's my... Well, if Iron Man got 3 movies, I should at least get a second. It's delusional, man. Okay. All right, to quote him here, Captain will compose himself on the deck. In a swift turn of events, James Gunn has officially announced the next installment of his Superman saga. What's so dumb about this? Close quote for a second. What's so dumb about this is Simu. There were 3 Superman movies already greenlit when James Gunn took the position, okay? Superman is the flagship character of the entire DCU. James Gunn is in charge of it. There were going to be 4 of these things from the beginning. Like, how do you not understand how these things work? These are dumb people, man. Like, really, it's surprising sometimes. I know dumb people exist, but sometimes it's amazing to encounter them in the wild. You know what I'm saying? Resume quote. Superman, Man of Tomorrow, is set to hit theaters on July 9th, 2027. Although billed as part of the Superman saga rather than a traditional sequel, this announcement comes hot on the heels of the 2025 hit that earned $611 million worldwide, making it the top-grossing superhero film of the year. Tomorrow, with a simple blank stare emoji. Wait, what I missed there? Okay, here we go. On X, okay, I'm not going to read this. I'll just show you what happened. So you have this X user who said, I genuinely don't remember the last time a superhero movie had a sequel turn around this fast. And he was replying, he was quote tweeting the James Gunn announcement of Superman, Man of Tomorrow. And then right below that, you had Simu Liu replying with a frowny face emoji. I need the clip of this. I need the clip of Lloyd Christmas in Dumb and Dumber saying, what a pathetic loser. He really thought. Okay. How is this what we got over Cavill? The more I think back, this will make you happy, Universal, because you were big mad at me that I was very positive on Superman at first. But the more I compare this Superman to Henry Cavill, the less I like him. I do like Corrin Sweat, but the more I realize how much better Henry Cavill Superman is. And I'm sorry, fans of the trunks, I like the Cavill suit better. It's just better. It just is. But that being said, Superman's not my hero, so I'm a Spider-Man guy. I will go to war with you over the Spider-Man costume. Superman costume, I'm like an annoying normie when it comes to that. So DC strikes fast. Man of Tomorrow arrives only 2 years after James Gunn's Superman. The fast turnaround highlights Warner Brother Discovery's push to establish the new DCU, with Superman quickly becoming the face of the franchise after its $611 million global haul. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you on the screen the man, the myth, the legend, the star, the rock star character of the Marvel Cinematic Universe post Phase 3. This is Shang-Chi, as played by the magnificent Simu Liu. How is this man not leading the Avengers? Simu Liu's post on X was congratulatory on the surface, but fans immediately picked up the subtext, pointing out that Superman has a sequel before Shang-Chi does. Many fans joked about the irony, calling it a comedic but telling sign of how Marvel has slowed down compared to DC. Shang-Chi, what are you talking about, slow down? They're literally going to release an Avengers film with 50 stars in it. Like, what are you even talking about? Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings was released in 2021 and earned around $432 million worldwide. Despite stating a sequel would happen, Marvel Studios still hasn't moved forward with Shang-Chi 2. The absence of any announcement only fuels speculation about the character's future. Simu Liu won't be absent from the MCU for long. He is confirmed to return in Avengers Doomsday, releasing December 18th, 2026. Liu recently called filming the movie like a dream, especially getting to work with Robert Downey Jr., who's not quite as important or impressive as Simu Liu, but is nonetheless a worthy contributor of the franchise, who is returning in a villainous new role as Doctor Doom. Liu teased that everyone will be blown away by Downey's performance. Well, that's better. Let's just leave it on that image. Spider-Man for the win. Spider-Man's way better than all these clowns. It's just that simple. He's the best superhero ever created. So anyway, I just thought that was super funny. I'm still laughing about it. He's all like, "Where's my Shang-Chi 2?" How do you not understand how the world works? the level of entitlement of these people. Do you realize that they did not think for a second that they had to earn our dollars in the theater? These people think that you as the customer, you as the comic book fan, you exist to serve their dreams and their ambitions. They do not exist to serve and entertain you. It's unbelievable. They think the reason video game players exist is to fund the DEI propaganda projects of the game creators. That's what they think. It's crazy. And then you see it. It's right there in that post. Only someone who is suffering from a delusional level of entitlement would ever say that. Just, I want I should be the leader of the MCU. It's freaking pathetic, man. And funny, and really, really funny. Universal says last year's box office was $8.6 billion. This year's is projected $10 billion plus. Okay. Cavill is a better Superman than Clark Kent. Corin Sweat is a better Clark Kent than Superman. I sort of agree with that, I would say. Yeah, I think that I think that's a fair assessment. I should just agree with people sometimes. I'm a professional disagreeer. Universal says Doomsday is in production without a confirmed script. The Russo brothers also did this during other 4 MCU movies they did as well. They can't help it. They literally have a boardroom and just an army of shareholders and a bunch of studio executives trying to justify their existence. All of them making demands, all of them trying to gin up excitement for this thing. There's no such thing as artistic creativity involved in Doomsday. It's going to be a mess. It's going to be a disaster. It's going to be a Frankenstein assemblage of parts. I think it's going to be just awful. So, Spider-Man Brand New Day has a shot, in my opinion, of being excellent, but it is by no means out of the woods. So in any case, that concludes this episode of Grave Dancing.
What are you laughing at?
That's right. Now, on to our next topic in the stack of stuff. We actually do have lots to go over there, so we'll probably get into a couple of stories of interest for me as the show goes on. Since we're on the subject of Avengers Doomsday, I do actually have a video from Dave Cullen. I don't know if we'll do the whole thing. I just want to, so he has another video about how he thinks Avengers Doomsday is going to be a total mess, which of course is my exact thoughts. And so let's just find out what he's got for us on this. Let me share audio and screen.
All right, guys, so we're going to talk about Avengers Doomsday in this video, of course, which isn't due out until December of 2026. I specifically wanted to focus on how the film is being made, which I do kind of have a bit of a problem with. This article is from
to your
That
point,
Park
Universal.
Place. Avengers Doomsday is still in production without a finalized script.
That's exactly your point, Universal. That's exactly what you were saying. This is insane. This is insane. How can they do this? I know I just said that, like, yeah, of course, this is how corporate and shitification works. But even so, this is literally the opposite of how to make. It's just like this chick at Cracker Barrel. She knows nothing about being a restaurateur, pleasing guests, creating an experience. She knows absolutely nothing about creating good down-home cooking. She knows nothing about how important it is that the biscuits be homemade, daily, fresh. She doesn't know what that is. She doesn't have any appreciation whatsoever at the awesome wonder and brilliance of the Taco Bell Mexican pizza. None whatsoever. And yet she's placed in charge of the Cracker Barrel rebrand. This is exactly the same phenomenon, but in the entertainment industry. People who have no knowledge of what it is to create art. And by the way, I'm not naive about this. I'm not saying that any film can ever be made without some input from the executives in the studio, and I'm not even saying that's always a bad thing. Artists can get a little off the reservation, let's face it. Sometimes it's a good thing to have a little bit of a bean counter reining them in just a little, putting a deadline on them, bringing them down to earth a little, like having them set more realistic goals for the film and pleasing the so there is some value in that. The problem we have, though, is that these are committees of corporate raiders who don't know what the hell they're doing.
Are they filming it? Is anyone surprised? This has become part of the assembly line process of Marvel's Cinematic Universe movies.
So 4 years. 4 years of the flopbuster, followed by 2025, the year this was all supposed to turn around, and they are still doing exactly the same thing. They are still making the exact same mistakes over and over again. It's incredible, isn't it?
And indeed, many big action movies over the years. Come up with action sequences, get those shot first, write the script while shooting, and gradually stitch some kind of unifying story around what you've shot, including building it together in editing. It says Avengers Doomsday is in production with still no script finalized. So how in the world are they filming months into the movie's process with no finished roadmap. According to sources, it's based on the idea of shooting big action sequences required for the film and then filling in narrative gaps in between. From a Puritan filmmaking perspective, looking at it purely from an art point of view, I don't like this kind of filmmaking.
This is robbing every action scene of the heart and the importance of the scene. Like, it's so you can't have, the only reason action scenes are truly memorable or compelling is when there's an emotional core at the heart of it. And that can only exist if you understand the character arc and the plot beats. You cannot possibly get a story. Like, for example, imagine if Godzilla -1 were made this way. It would never have had the heart and soul that it had.
Some might say that's called knowing the beats without the reasons. So it sounds like there's a general understanding of what motivates the action scenes, and they'll sort of cobble together a coherent film on the fly. Even after 3 months of filming, Marvel boss Kevin Feige acknowledged the screenplay was being refined on set, what he called plussing every day. Around the same time, reporting and interviews indicated Michael Waldron, who previously wrote Loki and Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, was actively assisting Stephen McFeely on the Doomsday script during production. A striking thread across leaks and trade-adjacent coverage is that Marvel moved ahead with major set pieces they were confident would survive rewrites, while character beats and connective tissue kept evolving. I find this kind of filmmaking potentially very risky, because if it goes wrong...
So Universal says, on sets with thousands of crew members, this is wise. Superman was horrendously leaked. Russo brothers are very good at stopping leaks during their former MCUs. Fans were given a lot of fake leaks. I hear what you're saying. Perhaps you have more knowledge on this than I do. But my feeling on this is it's a failure of leadership. That's what this is. If you're getting all kinds of leaks, it's a failure of leadership. George Lucas knew how to keep Empire Strikes Back under wraps while he was filming it. How was he able to do that in the 1980s, and yet you can't do that in the 2025s? But either way, wouldn't it be better to have an actual good film with a great script that's going to get people excited that gets leaked, as opposed to deliberately not having a finished script and making a mess that'll probably get leaked anyway? And except this time, the leaks are going to talk about how bad the movie is. I think I would rather have a finished script that's great. And if it's going to get leaked, let them leak that. And let the fans spoil it for themselves. Let that spoiler be, wow, this is going to be a great movie. So I don't buy that argument at all. I think that's a terrible approach to making anything. I don't buy it at all. It's bad leadership. A leader is responsible for everything that happens on their watch, whether that be a director, an executive producer, whoever. Leaks are a sign of terrible culture. That's what leaks are. Leaks are a sign of low morale. If you had an assembly of people that believed in what they were doing, that were carefully chosen, that were tight-knit, you wouldn't have leaks. Universal says, I disagree. A-list actors are good actors and can work with limited scene info. Are you out of your mind? Can they? Yes. Does that mean they should, or that it results in a good product? No. There is such a thing as improvisation. There is such a thing as ad-libbed lines. You know, those are all important components of art. Art is not about perfection. I get that. But not having a script means you are robbing the actor of a chance to actually apply their craft. I mean, do you realize Heath Ledger prepared for months for the role of the Joker in The Dark Knight? He isolated himself and he inhabited that character. He practiced the tone and the voice he was going to use. He practiced, he worked with Christopher Nolan in advance on that performance. And it's one of the most memorable villain performances, one of the best villains in a superhero film ever. That's not possible if you don't have a script. I think that if you have an A-list actor, let's just say like Anthony Hopkins, who is an absolute genius and could read the phone book and make it sound interesting, and your rationale for not providing them a finished script, or at least a mostly finished script for them to study and prepare, and your rationale for doing that is that, well, they're good, they're still going to turn water into wine and all that. What you fail to realize is, but how much better then would it have been if they had everything they needed? So what you're saying is, I'm using the talent of an A-list actor to turn in an acceptable performance when I could have had something brilliant. Universal says, I disagree. Did the leaks work for any MCU movie this year or summer blockbuster season? I didn't say that they work. That's not what I said. I wasn't suggesting that the leaks are beneficial. I don't think they're ever beneficial. I'm saying that if there's no way to avoid the leaks, and I don't think that there is, because you yourself point out that they leaked the bad movies anyway. What I'm saying is, if leaks are going to happen, wouldn't you rather the leak be a movie that's good? I think that when the leak is a movie that sounds like trash, like Ironheart, for example, which sounded like trash and was trash, I think that's a bad thing. But if the leak happened to be something good, I feel like that's a better result. I'm still not a good result, and it's still a failure of leadership, in my opinion. Why'd you retract the message, Universal? I appreciate your input on this. Sorry, I'm not trying to be critical of you, but I like to disagree, so we're having fun. We're having fun. It's totally cool. I appreciate your perspective. For all I know, you may be right about this. But even so, it's not how I would do things. Roll tape.
If there's elements of the story that aren't working and the film needs big changes in post-production, hugely expensive action scenes might have to be jettisoned, and there could potentially be a lot of expensive refilming. I wonder if this was one of the contributing factors to the messy production of Captain America: Brave New World, where a huge amount of the film had to be reshot, resulting in the film having a massive budget by the end. Reports point to the production shooting marquee battles first, notably an X-Men vs. Fantastic Four clash, before the full final script was locked. We're also hearing rumours that Doctor Doom will fight the Thunderbolts, Spider-Man, and Wolverine will team up to face off against some form of the TVA, etc. Oh, great. The Time Variance Authority yet again. But then again, what choice do they have? I mean, this film's story is only possible through the inclusion of the TVA because the plot hinges on the use of the multiverse plot device, which, let's be honest, the TVA has been a story element introduced in the MCU in recent years, which has not exactly been the most popular addition to the franchise. But just reading that there, a fight between the X-Men and the Fantastic Four, and Doom fighting Thunderbolts and Spider-Man and Wolverine all thrown together, this just feels like big budget fan fiction to me. Titillate the fans with novelty and member berries by throwing as much superhero eye candy on screen at one time, in the hopes people pay money to go and see the film. I mean, what else did we expect Avengers Doomsday to be? It says, while Marvel hasn't confirmed the matchups on the record, multiple outlets and scoop aggregators described at least the Fantastic Four vs. Fox X-Men, a sequence being staged during the spring-summer shoot. Adding credibility, Alan Cumming seemed to confirm it. It should go without saying that beginning a film without a completed script is usually usually a recipe for disaster, though not always. Disney Marvel have done this sort of thing before, but because they have such massive budgets, they can afford to endlessly rework the movie until it's at least watchable, and maybe even good. But to offer a counter...
It really is brute force filmmaking, isn't it? They literally just have so much cash. They just have unlimited resources. And yet it still produces basically slop. I mean, it still produces subpar movies. I haven't seen a Marvel film that I considered truly excellent. That would be a Disney Marvel film. I have not seen one that I consider truly excellent since Endgame. That's crazy. The only one that I've considered excellent, and it's not really a Disney Marvel film, is Spider-Man No Way Home. But that's a Sony film. So Spider-Man No Way Home is the only superhero movie I have truly loved since Endgame. That's pretty crazy. So all the money in the world, all the brute force filmmaking ever, and it can still not be a substitute. I mean, I think about all this, all the limitless resources that Disney has to dump into these films to endlessly rework them, as Dave Cullen says. And yet, meanwhile, over here in Japan, look at what Takashi Yamazaki does with $15 million and a few drums of gas. No, I'm just kidding. It's incredible. Fan service is needed to save the MCU right now. True, I think good stories, good filmmaking, good storytelling is what's needed. Me personally, they need to tell a story that's handcrafted and authentic to the comic books and the characters. And that's really what fan service is. Fan service is very simply giving fans what they want. Do they want to see cool set pieces between the X-Men and the Fantastic Four? Sure, but that's part of what they want. What they want is to see the characters represented, treated well. They want to see the story be good. That's what they want. And that's what fan service is. So, well, what's your opinion, Universal? Do you think that Doomsday is going to be good? Which is fine if you do. What's your prediction? Do you think it'll be good?
Point to what I'm saying, Star Trek the Motion Picture is another example of a movie that had a script that was being changed during filming. The climax of the movie was heavily rewritten during principal photography. And Motion Picture ended up being a great film, in my opinion, and my favorite Star Trek film, actually. So this method of filmmaking can work, but it's just generally not advisable for obvious reasons. Moreover, in the case of Avengers Doomsday, it feels like the whole point is fan bait action scenes and just contriving an excuse to get the characters on screen and facing off against each other, which is chiefly why the film is being made in this convoluted manner. Story is essentially secondary, and the gimmick of getting Fantastic Four, X-Men, the Avengers, and all the others on screen together at some point, that's the point of the film, right? The story is not being served first and foremost. The action and the team-ups of the various characters, that's what's being served first and foremost. The story sounds like it's of little overall importance. It's just get the characters on screen in some contrived multiverse fashion, whatever, have them fight for a bit so that the fans will swoon and ooh and ah, and then finish off with a big final action sequence where they all team up to take on Doom. That sounds like the basis of the plot going into the filming of the movie. It's like get the eye candy done first, then figure out the finer details of story after it's filmed. I do find it kind of a bit cynical, to be honest, though I'm by no means saying that a good film can't be constructed in this manner. It's just not really how I think cinema should be made. the film isn't coming first and foremost from a position of an actual strong story idea. The spectacle is the priority here, and the story is just a bit of filler that they have to figure out that somehow stitches the action sequences together. It feels like they're kind of just banking on Robert Downey Jr.'s return being enough, and that all they have to do is basically cram in as many superheroes into the film as possible, and that fans will just lap it up regardless as to the quality of the story. But am I wrong? I mean, does any of this actually matter? So long as a good movie is produced by the end, so long as the outcome is a really good film, what difference does it make? Well, lots to think about there. I will throw this one over to you guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. Hit that
Hat tip Dave Cullen, an excellent analysis. I pretty much agree with him. They need to stop making movies the way they've been making them, which is by corporate committee, no finished scripts. It's bad form. It's bad artistic hygiene, if you will. So we have much more to cover in the stack of stuff. I have Superman 2025. There are shills. You're gonna love this, Universal. There are shills for James Gunn Superman that are upset, because they always are, and we have the pitch meeting. So we are going to check that out, and there's video game news as well. So we are going to cover that very soon, and I will take a short break and be right back. And we are back. Welcome back to the Captain's Cast. Me, your host, Captain Garrett of the Swords and Starships channel. Please like and subscribe if you're enjoying the content. I do this because I enjoy hanging out with you. So, I believe Fu Man Blue described it as like his favorite pub down the street. That's us here on the Swords of Starship channel, which reminds me, where is Tim Allen? Tim Allen has not been here handing out mead recently, and I miss that. I miss the flagons of mead. Universal, you remain an enigma. Only a few months ago, you were just savaging me for my positive review of Superman 2025, James Gunn Superman by James Gunn. And now you're savaging me for thinking that Avengers Doomsday is going to be trash. Fascinating. Say one thing for Universal. Say his motives are inscrutable. Redoubt Production says, more shills, bring me the grog. Oh, yes. Oh, yes, Redoubt. Universal saying, I believe Doomsday will make $1 billion plus. It'll be a Billy killer. A Billy killer for Doomsday. Easily based solely on the amount of character and plot lines within those characters aside from Doom. Maybe. I don't know. If any superhero film has a shot at $1 billion going forward, it definitely would be Avengers Doomsday. Or possibly Spider-Man also. But Avengers Doomsday does seem like the obvious choice. But I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to say I think those days are over. I think $1 billion, if that movie is not excellent, is off the table. So you can clip that. Mark my words. That is my prediction. I'm not saying it'll flop. I'm not saying it'll be a complete disaster, but I don't think $1 billion is going to happen unless the word of mouth is excellent. I think that if we were still living in the era where reputation and, cameo bait and stuff like that was enough to put a movie over $1 billion, if we were still living in that era, then I think we would have already seen $1 billion film this year with Fantastic Four or possibly Thunderbolts or Captain America, the Mothman, Superman. The fact that we haven't seen $1 billion film, I just think those days are over. But we'll see. We'll see which of us is right, Universal. I look forward to that day. Okay, let's get to the Superman pitch meeting. And I have this one downloaded, do I not, Mr. Producer? I do. Excellent. Excellent. Let me grab... hat tip, Ryan George of Pitch Meeting. I've got to find it first, Mr. Producer. There it is. All right.
So, you have a new Superman movie for me?
Yes, sir, I do.
Oh boy, this is gonna be so dark and depressing.
Actually, I was thinking the exact opposite.
Oh, so you mean we're gonna include some jokes like, he's right behind me, isn't he? And, well, that just happened. Well, hopefully a step up from that.
Impossible. Those are the funniest jokes in the world. That's why Marvel uses them so much. I'm just thinking we make this a little more lighthearted and infuse some jokes here and there.
Here and there? What does that mean?
Everywhere.
Oh my god.
Let no scene go unjoked.
Okay.
So anyway, in this movie, Superman's gonna lose a fight for the first time ever.
Oh boy, I can't wait to watch what that's gonna be like with my eyes and see it.
Oh no, the movie starts immediately after that happens.
Oh.
But don't worry, sir. Superman's constantly gonna get his butt kicked in this movie.
What?
Just manhandled and woman-handled over and over again.
All right.
So anyway, with the help of Crypto the dog, he gets back to the...
That's such a perfect reaction. All right. How does that... So this is the crazy thing about this. I was in favor of the idea of seeing Superman be able to be threatened physically by another enemy, I think is basically a good idea because it shows that Superman has limits It creates a sense of stakes and tension. I didn't mean to say, oh, he should get his ass beat every single scene. That's not what I signed up for.
Fortress of Solitude and gets patched up by robots and sunshine. Well, great. So then he goes back to the fight and gets beat up again by this dude. Who is this guy that keeps beating up Superman? Well, he's the Hammer of Boravia. Oh. Except he's not. Oh, he's not. He's actually a masked metahuman named Ultraman. Oh, he is. Kind of not. What are you who is this guy? Well, see, under the mask, he's actually a clone of Superman being controlled by Lex Luthor. Is he? Yes, I'm done with the identity twists. Or am I? Yes, I am. Okay, cool. And how does Lex control this guy? Well, he shouts commands at his henchmen, and those commands are various fight moves, so he's able to beat Superman that way. Isn't Superman, like, incredibly fast? Well, yeah, but his speed is no match for the speed of a guy yelling orders at another guy who then enters the orders into a computer and then...
Wait, Universal says, sarcasm? I never applauded your positive Superman review. Quite the well, that's what I said. I said you savaged me, meaning meaning that you were vehemently disagreeing with me about my positive review of Superman. So yes, we agree on that, and you think Doomsday will do well, right? Which I disagree with. 2026 will be a better year than the last. Maybe. We'll see.
A clone does those moves. Yeah, I guess that doesn't leave a lot of reaction time. So anyway, also Clark and Lois are dating, and she knows he's Superman. Oh, interesting dynamic. And he agrees to be interviewed by her as Superman, but they get into a little argument. How come? Because maybe he did a little war crime, maybe not. Been there. He may have slightly tortured a world leader. Torture-related relationship troubles are tight. Yeah, see, he stopped this powerful fictional nation from attacking a less powerful fictional nation. Fiction is wild. What an imagination you have. Thank you. And now Lex wants to distract Superman so he can go fiddle around in the Fortress of Solitude, so he releases a kaiju in Metropolis. Extremely rude. So Superman wants to stop this thing without killing it, but then this trio of heroes called the Justice Gang pop in and they just straight up kill the thing. Oh, the Justice Gang, huh? We should have them bicker about their name throughout the whole movie. What? That's one of the funniest things you can do in a superhero movie. That's why Marvel does that so much. Okay, I guess. So the Justice Gang is this Green Lantern, Guy Gardner, and then there's Hawk Girl, and then there's Mr. Terrific, the guy from Shark Tank. No, and so Lex and his goons, they decrypt this message from Superman's parents, and turns out they wanted him to take over the world, so they broadcast that to Earth. Well, how can they be sure it's not fake? Well, Mr. Terrific tells Superman he knows the guys that verified this, and they're legit. Well, couldn't Lex have bribed or threatened them? Impossible! Get all the way off my back about that. Okay, let me get off of that thing. So then another big monster attacks the city. Oh no, so what does Superman do? He lets the Justice Gang handle it. He's got to go talk about his feelings. Fair enough. So then he decides to explain himself to the world and reassure everyone he means them no harm. Turn himself in. That works too. And the government gives him to Lex, who shoves him in a prison cell in a pocket universe. How can he keep Superman in a cell? See, Lex also captured this guy Metamorpho who can turn himself into things, so he turns himself into kryptonite. Why would he do that? Because Lex kidnapped his little baby. Oh my goodness. So they work together, and along with the help of Crypto and Mr. Terrific and Lois, they get out of the pocket universe. Hey, if Lex wants Superman dead, why not just kill him right away with this kryptonite dude? Well, because then the movie would be over and it's not quite time for that yet. Understandable, carry on. So now frickin' Lex opens an unstable portal to the pocket universe and creates a dimensional rift that starts splitting Metropolis. Oh, those are words. Dangerous words. So Metropolis literally starts getting torn in half. Wow, so tons of people must die. Well, no, because they evacuate the city. Just a city full of people all manage to leave immediately? Yes, but now at the exact same time, that frickin' one nation wants to attack the other one again. Oh man, gonna be tough to deal with both those things at once. Actually, it's gonna be super easy. Barely an inconvenience. Oh, really? Yeah, see, Superman sends Hawk Girl and Guy Gardner and Metamorpho to go handle that over there, because teamwork makes the dream work. What do we call that teamwork? Delegation makes the dream work. There it is. So anyway, then Mr. Terrific manages to close the rift, and Lex admits that he orchestrated this whole thing to make the world hate Superman. A very sneaky bald man. And Lois exposes the truth to the world, so Lex, he's gonna be in big trouble. Wow, well, just goes to show you, billionaires always get held accountable for their sketchy behavior. Well, sounds like a great movie. Yeah, you think? Yeah.
That's like the best point they made. Oh yeah, billionaires always go to jail when they do bad things. Oh no, they don't. Can you even think of a single billionaire that's ever gone to prison basically for anything that who did not like literally make their billions illegally, like Bernie Madoff, right? Who literally just swindled for all of his money. Like none of it was real. There was no actual business anywhere. I can't think of any. I
just think it's missing a little bit of hype building for the future of the DCU. I could slap a quick cameo right at the end. That'll do it.
Hat tip, Ryan George of Pitch Meeting. Now, there is a type of fan who gave Superman 2025 a 10 out of 10, is absolutely nuts for the James Gunn universe, wants to fight the Snyder Bros all day long, thinks it's one of the greatest films ever made, can't shut up about it. They're what's known as a Gunn fan, a.k.a. a shill. And they make me sick. They suffer from a disease which prevents them from having an objective, reasonable point of view about a above average but somewhat tepid entry into the Superman canon. You see, their disease, shillery by proxy, it affects their brain matter. It is incurable, congenital, and the prognosis is grim. But there is a man who studies the shill carefully, under a microscope, you might say. He intuits their strange idiosyncrasies, and he documents every element of their disease so as to prevent its spread to regular humans. His name is Mr. Grizzy, and he has for us a shill who is very upset that we, to the extent that we are criticizing the James Gunn Superman. So let me take it away, Mr. Producer.
Out of nowhere, this person texts me at 1:30 in the morning and says a movie that I like is trash, unprovoked. Superman is garbage. that is ground to get your ass beat.
Whoa.
What? What? That's such an overreaction. That's such an over. It's like, I gave Superman a 7 out of 10. And like a lot of the YouTubers I follow are like, it's trash. It sucks. You know, Universal, my own Universal hates it. Member of my own chat despises the film. But this is such an overreaction, man. I mean, it's not a great film. Why Gunn admitted that in that video when all fans were expecting the reveal of Superman 2 is questionable. The reveal about Clark's parents' verbiage was completely exposed as fans' idiocy, which no online fans are admitting. I don't know what you're saying there, Universal. Behind the scenes videos, they showed Lex edited the video from Clark's parents. Oh, you mean his Kryptonian, his parents from Krypton. What do you... James Gunn himself has stated that Jor-El and Lara L they were serious, that was a legit video that really happened. James Gunn himself confirmed that. Now, he might be full of crap, but that's what he said.
Everybody just relax.
So as you can see, there are some James Gunn Superman fans out there who are very passionate about this movie. And they really, really want other people to like the movie just as much as they did.
Yeah, I love this movie. This is the Superman.
Oh my God. What the hell is this? What the hell is this? There's nothing in this movie that warrants that. There is nothing in this movie that warrants it. Now, if they were watching Godzilla -1 or Lord of the Rings, you bow to no one. This is acceptable. This is 100% acceptable. Or Interstellar, when Cooper is listening to the videos of his kids whose childhoods he's missed. This is acceptable. There is nothing in James Gunn's Superman that justifies this reaction.
And I've always wanted, dude. This is the movie I've always wanted since I was a kid.
You make me happy.
But that's not the way the world works, and that's especially not the way that the internet works. And some people, many of whom are shills, just can't handle the criticism, and then eventually...
just bottles up the anger, and then eventually you blow.
This is basically going to be like a therapy session, just kind of getting this stuff off my chest.
During one session, I just put an AirPod in and let my client rant while I just sat there. These bitches don't want to improve. They just want to trauma dump.
But I want to talk about the comparisons of the Henry...
Folks, when I do impressions of the Shills, am I not deadly accurate? This guy... deadly accurate, my impression of them. Well, you see, I want to talk about the comparison. I want to talk about the comparison between Henry Cavill and James Cornsweet.
Henry Cavill, David Cornsweet, toxicity, and tribalism. And it's a time and period.
This is such a canard. This is purely a Gunn bro, Snyder bro thing. I have no dog in that hunt. It is so bizarre. If you express an opinion one way or the other, if you say I prefer the Henry Cavill Superman or I prefer the Cornsweet Superman, whichever opposite side you fall on, they will assume that you're the enemy army. It's like, I'm not the enemy army, bro. I'm not a Snyder bro. I don't have there's a lot I don't like about the Snyderverse. I do happen to prefer Henry Cavill as Superman. But they just assume. Universal saying, full of crap because I typed previously. Gunn in the behind-the-scenes videos said that the verbiage was fabricated in the ticker in the movie. Well, he said in an interview that it was true. So, and I read that in an article. So he's, as usual, regardless, whichever is correct, James Gunn, as always, is sending mixed signals to the fans. And either way, I honestly don't even care about any of that. The film establishes that what they said was true. And I think it was a terrible note to end on for the film, for sure.
I hate fandom.
Hates the fandom so much that he wants to beat them up for simply bringing up and discussing the box office.
Oh, it didn't make more than Man of Steel. It didn't make more than Man of Steel. If you adjust for inflation, it didn't even make 600 million, blah, blah, blah.
Yes, people are going to talk about that because it's news.
I don't understand why people feel that that's a flex, that is a flex.
You guys were talking a big game several months ago about how this movie was going to make $1 billion. Not only did it not achieve that, it didn't even surpass Man of Steel when adjusting for inflation. And at the end of the day, that is a box office disappointment, and that is an L for James Gunn.
People want to sit there in their basement living rent-free with their parents.
While you sit in your basement, Sir Madam Marit.
And they want to sit there and they want to attack everybody, going, my thing better, my thing better, my thing better.
Yes, welcome to the internet.
That's what.
So what? So what? This is so dumb. I grew out of this years ago. You know, and it's like, I'm so past it. This is what talking about video game consoles was like when I was a teenager. Xbox is the ultimate console. It has Halo. Halo is trash. It's all about the PlayStation. And you'd have these tribal wars over that. And I was like, who cares? Who cares about this? I'm so past all of this. It's just funny to me that he's like, look, everybody talks about how terrible the Avatar movies are. I'm still going to go see the new Avatar movie. Maybe twice. We'll see. I don't know. This is the first time I kind of don't. I'm not sure it's going to be good. I feel like I've kind of seen this movie twice already. But that being said, it won't ruin my good time.
Man of Steel made more than Superman, more than David Cornsweat. Yeah, it made more money. But they're not taking into account that we went through a pandemic.
These people are going to just...
Oh my God, this is pathetic. This is so sad. This guy is probably one of the brainwashed lemmings, one of the willing slaves that just put on his face diaper and was like, 6 feet distance. God.
Just continue to use the pandemic as an excuse for bad performances at the box office, even though we've had big box office successes post-pandemic.
Everybody's mindset of how we look at theaters and the theater going experience is different. The economy is much different. The box office in general was much better back then. We were at the heyday, the beginning, the golden age of superhero comic book movies. Now we fast forward to 2025, and we live in a world where Marvel has 3 flops in a row, and these are good films.
Now, hold on a minute.
Did he low-key just call Captain America Brave New World a good movie?
Now we fast forward to 2025, and we live in a world where Marvel has 3 flops in a row, and these are good films.
Uh-oh, retard alert. Retard alert, class.
Now, real quick, before we move on, I'd really appreciate it if you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel.
He really likes Captain Mothman. Captain Mothman is a good movie.
If you haven't already. Now, I'm not going to get on my knees and beg like Robert here does.
I am super fat and my knees are bad, but I am begging you. Begging you.
Support is way low right now, and I don't even have enough to buy groceries.
Please, hit the subscribe button and the like button.
I'm not going to go that far, but I would really appreciate it. All right, moving on.
I never thought about, hey, I'm going to go on other people's channel who like this movie, and I'm going to shit on them. I had a YouTube subscriber that had my personal phone number.
What?
And I'm sitting here at work. It's like 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning because I work graveyard shift. And out of nowhere, this dude just sends me a text. Superman is garbage.
There's so many things about this. It's so weird. This is why I'll never give Universal my personal number. I'll never give. No offense, Universal. I'm never giving you my personal number. I'd be getting 10 texts. I'd be getting 10 text messages at 1 a.m. Superman, Super Doggy sucks. That's so funny. Why? That's so. But also, it's that it ruined his day so badly. It's like, who gives a fuck? But you know what's so disingenuous about this shill though? They are the first ones that will pile on if there's some kind of movie that has like an offensive stereotype, or like some movie that has uses the R word. It has off color that comedy is not appropriate. Or if it's like, oh, this is a very male gazy kind of movie. They're the first ones that would criticize it's someone else's favorite movie. But when it's something they like, it's like some kind of crime against humanity because someone did not like the movie they like. It's pathetic. It's pathetic.
Good one.
Why do you give your personal phone number out to your subscribers in the first place? I think is the bigger issue here.
And then I text back, I'm like, really, bro? It's like 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm at work. Why do you feel the need to just message me out of nowhere, unprovoked, and attack me.
Because it's freaking hilarious.
If you do not like something, why do you seek it out?
Because it triggers you, and when you get triggered, you are giving them the reaction that they want.
I don't want to hear about this stupid argument of Henry Cavill versus David Corn. I do not care.
So you can tell he's starting to get a little pissed off now, and it's about time to start cracking skulls.
The internet has opened up a portal and a platform for mentally ill people to say whatever they want without any consequences.
You are evidence of that very fact, sir.
What are you going to do about it?
Back in my day, before the internet, if you come up to somebody and you harass them over something stupid like that, you're liable to get your ass kicked.
So back in the day, man, you tell someone that a movie they like sucks or their favorite sports team or whatever is trash, that is justification for an ass whooping.
A guy can sit there and text me while I'm at work at 1 a.m. and criticize a movie that he knows that I like, and it was unprovoked. I didn't text him. I didn't call him.
You ever consider, like, maybe not being so sensitive?
That is
that's like Grissy's best point. Like, of all the shills, this one's a little bit of a special case, you know? It's like, have you tried just not being so sensitive? Like, what are you're so upset about this? It's 1:30 in the morning, and he's telling me how much he doesn't like Superman 2025. Oh, why is he like this?
That is ground to get your ass beat. That is another level of mental illness that I do not understand.
Not people liking. Did you hear this? Universal. By his definition, you're mentally ill. If you don't like Superman 2025 and you tell anyone this, if you dare tell anyone that you don't like James Gunn Superman, you're mentally ill. It's a fact.
Whatever they want, and there's no one there to punch them in the face and say, shut the fuck up, you idiot.
Don't stop the tape. What? Think about what he's saying here. He's literally saying, that if you don't like a movie and you tell someone who does like that movie that you don't like the movie, you are mentally ill and you deserve to be punched in the face. There's so many problems with this. You think it's okay to punch someone who's mentally ill in the face? Just for saying something? Don't you feel like that's abusing the mentally ill?
I think I speak for everyone who watched this video from start to finish when I say, we'd really like to see you try.
Oh, that was funny. That was so weird. So Universal's never getting my number. No offense. No, don't worry. Nobody else of the is getting it either. Redoubt Productions is back in my day. Yeah. Universal. You're retracting your messages. That always makes me curious. Why are you retracting your messages? This is a safe space, Universal. Say what you feel. I won't be offended. I might argue with you, but I won't be offended. Okay, so next on the stack of stuff, so we're pivoting now to video games. Okay, Fleekazoid, the great, insane Fleekazoid, has a new video. The minute I saw this, I added it to the stack of stuff because I was like, I want to experience this with my beloved chat. Fleekazoid is the avatar of pure chaos in the universe. He's awesome. And he has a review of Battlefield 6. And the title of this video is Donald Trump's favorite war crime simulator, which is such a... That title alone is so freaking funny. So let's go. Okay. Roll tape.
More important now, this moment that we're looking at, both President Trump and Vladimir Putin inside the beast. You can see it looks like President Trump is actively speaking. They're animated.
Boy, this will be the conversation that people will be wondering about at the end of the day.
Why did they remove the cracker from the Cracker Barrel logo? What are these crackers doing? Speaking of crackers, let me go call my good buddy Fleek. Fleek, this is Flump and Vlad calling in from the Cybertruck, a great car made by my African-American rocket boy. Melania said if we're good boys, we can go to Waffle House, and as you all know, I'm always a good boy. The best boy, they say. Don't worry about what Minion Vance did to the Pope, Vlad, you'll be fine. Fleek, let me tell you something. It's your boy! I do the best war crimes, just look at my stats. I didn't even use a single N-word. The other day, I assembled leaders from countries all around the globe to tell them about my big 60-kill victory. They were very impressed, except for that.
The pictures on the wall are so funny. I love the Vance meme in the upper right.
One bitch from the spaghetti country. She was mean-mugging me the whole time. Your country is
spaghetti country. The spaghetti country.
Invented pizza, why are you so angry? You know, all of EA's sins have been forgotten, and all because they didn't snort a mountain of cocaine before making this game. Do you see Call of Duty doing that? No. They're cranking out whatever the hell this is. People would rather pay to see two dogs fuck and buy the season pass before they play this abomination. They replaced good gameplay with Nicki Minaj's large fake ass. I'll say it. That ass is DLC. The good Lord did not give her that rump. And that's the problem with this country. Our Taco Bells look like banks. Chuck Entertainment Cheese is committing credit card fraud, and we aren't appreciating big naturals anymore. Some people are saying that's what caused this war. I wouldn't be guzzling the barrel of a tank right now if more people just appreciated Sydney's gigantic milkers. What's the problem with saying that the SS have perfect genes? Shut up, Fleek. Jeez, you're always taking up too much of my time. Congratulations on beating the witch hunt, though, Fleek. These short-haired women can't keep a pimp down, but if you're gonna keep this up, you're gonna need bail money. So I talked to my good friends at Gamer Subs and got your degenerate ass a partnership. You're welcome. Minion Vance, hand me that goof juice. When you really gotta stab a bitch, I get the energy with Blowhole Blast. They got big titty flavors, big titty shirts. They even got big titty shaker cups. Look at these great designs, incredible designs, especially this one. Wow, what a rack on that guy. Just how I like my women with cocks. That's right, pimps. I'm a made man now. I'm a part of the Gamer Subs family. For years, you pimps have been asking. You are looking submissive and draftable, pimp. Welcome to NATO. Battlefield 6 is an orgy of war crimes, and it's beautiful. Don't get me wrong, they're probably gonna make me unlock new weapons through a battle pass. Half the time, my guy is tripping balls. The bloom is so bad, my primary weapon became an explosive car. Go fuck yourself! The destruction is more flashy than ever, despite not mimicking a fraction of Shanghai's power. Letting all classes use all guns means we can't torture the medics for helping the team by giving them trash weapons, and the sweet spot mechanic is just about the stupidest shit I've ever encountered. If I snipe you in the left hip from here, it's 80 damage. But if I'm right here, you're on a permanent vacation to the morgue. I'm glad they made your sniper glint the size of the goddamn sun, you sniper filth. When your dad forgot to pull out, I bet he thought his son would at least be an engineer, man. But now look at all of you. Is this the man your wife's boyfriend would want you to be? No, I don't. Quick disclaimer, they've already changed everything from the beta, so know that nothing you're about to hear is correct. With that out of the way, everything I'm about to tell you is 100% true and factual. Choosing which game mode you want to play is choosing how fast you want to die. Rush is the fastest, Breakthrough is pretty fast, and Conquest is by far the slowest time to die because it takes, 1, 2, 3 seconds to die. Let's get vehicles out of the way second because I spent the least time using them. Not because I didn't use them often, but because my flights were very short. They really got to work on that. And as for the cars, shout out to the Need for Speed devs for taking time out of their busy schedules ruining that franchise to come help ruin this one. The cars in this game are fantastic. They go from 0 to the afterlife in 3 seconds. They did a much better job working on these than they did with the factions. We got NATO and a generic enemy faction that won't offend any countries. America is here with all the important countries of NATO. Like I said, all the important countries of NATO are here. It's all of us versus the Tampax Armatas. If they're not careful, there's gonna be N-words in Paris, nuclear bombs all over the place. Our man on the inside will make sure of it. Flomp out. I just want to take a little moment to give some advice to my teammates that are clearly lost. Battlefield is all about teamwork. Unfortunately...
Redoubt says, is this what caffeine feels like? Fleekazoid is... well, he's a fleek.
I'm the only motherfucker on this team that works. There are 3 men on this objective. Me, myself, and I. I've got 6 captures. Courage JD's out here with 0. PTO means play the objective, not paid time off. Get your ass on the point. Pims, I'm on my final straw. The other day, my medic botched 3 revives and walked away from me like I'm the problem. A lot of people are asking for bigger maps, and you know what? I'm starting to agree. Get these dumbasses as far away from me as possible. You mentioned straws just a second ago, and you know, the girl bosses of the EU make you drink milkshakes with paper straws. These women are evil. So I guess join the Tampax Armadas if you like paper straws and supersized bras, and not in the good way. 50 billion out. They say all men are created equal, but you look at their team and you look at my team and you see that is simply not true. Their team is out here like saving fucking Private Ryan. As soon as I gun them down, they'll knock me over, rushing to revive each other. Here's my squad mate jumping over my dead body so he can quickly create another one. The enemy team is all medics so that they can help each other up all the goddamn time. My medics fucking around reenacting Tiananmen Square. Hell, the enemies revived so much that they ran out of dead teammates and started reviving mine. Oh! Flick, just yell at your team in the chat. I tried. You're going to make it back home to those fudge skibbity shites. Does that mean anything to you? I'm trying to relate to my Zoomer demographic. Just to make a note on the reviving front, it is nice to be able to drag your teammates down, but Jesus, it makes you slow. It turns you into a slug. I feel better than a whale's asshole. I got you, Flick. We're moving like a real...
All right, I think that gives us a flavor of it. So there you go. Fleekazoid is sometimes an acquired taste, but hilarious. Usually hilarious. I just realized, like, I don't have enough of a dog in the hunt with Battlefield 6 to, like, I can't really offer any commentary, so I feel like I'm just letting his content play. So we'll just move on. We will move on. Now, I do have a critical drinker review that I thought I would run for us. So apparently there is this film with Emily Blunt called, I think it's Emily Blunt, Savant. The Savant. This is one of those films that is so obviously bad, there's just no chance I'm going to watch it. So the drinker watched it. The ultimate Karen Power fantasy. The Savant. All right, Mr. Producer, roll
If
tape.
Hollywood was a person, it would be the drunken bridesmaid delivering a rambling, cringy, unscripted 15-minute wedding speech, even though she can clearly see the life draining out of every person in the room with each new sentence that comes tumbling out. It would be the comedian still trying to push his unfunny jokes, even as half the audience gets up and walks out, and the other half are passed out drunk in their seats. It would be the party guy who decides that now is the perfect time to do flaming shots, even as everyone else is getting their coats to go home. The point I'm making here is that being able to read the room is a pretty important skill for anyone, especially if your job is to produce entertainment that will appeal to as wide an audience as possible. That means having your finger on the pulse of modern culture and understanding how people are feeling, what they like and dislike, and what issues are important to them right now. Which is what Apple TV spectacularly failed to do with the release of their first trailer for The Savant, a new show about, and I kid you not, a middle-aged white Karen who uses online censorship and surveillance to tackle right-wing extremism in America.
Oh my God. There is basically nothing on Apple TV that is an original, aside from Silo. Silo is the only exception. There is nothing on Apple TV that I've enjoyed besides that. It is just, basically everything they create is kind of just trash.
Congratulations, Apple. I do believe you've cracked it. You have officially won the Boy Did We Back the Wrong Horse award for the most tone-deaf, out-of-touch production in recent memory, just barely beating Ironheart to the post. Anyway, let's talk about it in more detail, shall we? Jessica Chastain stars as Karen. Sorry, Jodie Goodwin, a government profiler whose job is to infiltrate online hate groups from her garden shed, posing as one of them so that she can get information about upcoming attacks and stop them before they even happen. But when she gets wind of a major operation about to go down, the bad guys turn the tables on her and come after her own family. But can she moderate those forums hard enough to dox the men responsible and keep,
It's a Reddit fantasy. This is what Redditors think that they are.
Democracy? Is that the word I'm looking for? Sure, yeah, let's go with that. Keep democracy safe? You know, basing a story around a protagonist sitting at a computer is a pretty tough sell. Just ask Ice Cube. But using your show to advocate for increased online surveillance, entrapment, and government overreach is an even bigger one at a time when most people are getting pretty sick of that bullshit. Look, we just have to keep people safe, okay? Safe from who, you might ask? Just don't worry about it. It doesn't really help that the hero in this case is an overbearing, liberal white woman with the power of a keyboard at her fingertips.
Oh man. Oh god, oh man.
Let's be honest, we've all had to deal with people like that, and it's usually about as much fun as trying to make love to a food blender. Now, don't get me wrong, I've got nothing against Jessica Chastain as an actor, but holy shit, making us empathize with this...
Did I say Emily Blunt? Jessica Chastain. Sorry, Emily Blunt.
Woman is going to be the Mount fucking Everest of acting challenges. What's next? You going to tell us the story of a heroic Reddit mod bravely scrolling through forums late at night to ban users who say things she disagrees with? The Wikipedia user quietly working in the shadows to rewrite articles so they align with the correct worldview? The Twitter user who selflessly false flags other accounts for the greater goods?
How can this be for the greater good? Shut it!
This is the problem with Hollywood writers who try to poke their noses into internet culture. They either completely misunderstand who the good and bad guys are, or more likely, they just don't fucking care and try to impose their own ideas onto something that they know very little about. It's funny, really, because this trailer is like a beautiful patchwork quilt of everything that's considered safe and acceptable in modern entertainment. A perfect example of the message, if you will. Female protagonist who's smarter than everyone else around her? Check. Ethnically diverse family? Check. Unthreatening, affable husband? Check. Bad guys are middle-aged white Republicans? Check.
No way.
Oh my goodness, who could have predicted that a show made by modern Hollywood would choose this particular group of people as the villains? It kind of reminds me of the BBC's recent...
You know who that is playing the right-wing, the right-wing extremist? That's Buttface. That's Pablo Schreiber, Buttface, who plays Master Chief in The Dude. They got a real humdinger. They got a real beauty to play the right-wing extremist.
Coverage of anti-noise pollution campaigns for the London Underground, featuring of course those well-known hoodlums who listen to loud music on trains, elderly white men.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
Now, I've actually had the misfortune of using the underground many times in my life, and I can tell you one thing for nothing, the dudes who pull this kind of shit do not look like this guy. When your writing process consists of about 90% political pandering, always in one direction of course, and predetermined rules about which identity groups are allowed to do what, and maybe 10% actual creative storytelling, well, you end up with stuff like The Savant, which probably explains why it's got a 50-50 dislike ratio, and the comments are pure fucking gold, man. It's proof that no matter how hard the culture swings against them,
right,
there are
let me
always
get some of those comments.
50-50 dislike ratio, and the comment.
They keep saying 13% of all wizards cast over 50% of the spells. What could they mean by that? She is the savant. Oh my God. You know, if Karens had their way, they would police everything we say. They would police what we wear, what we say, how far away we can stand from people, how long we're allowed to make eye contact. My God, the Orwellian hell we would live in if middle-aged liberal white women ran the world. It would be a nightmare, which is why we're not going to allow that to happen. We're going to have to revoke their voting right. I mean, we're going to have to advocate against them having that kind of influence. This comment says, it's like someone made a parody of 2020 Hollywood. I'm finally represented. All the bad guys look like me. That's a good one.
Comments are pure fucking gold, man.
By day, Jody is your average suburban mom. By night, she's uncovering the darkest corners of the internet. I don't know what everyone's complaining about. This sounds like the first laugh-out-loud comedy Apple TV's ever carried.
And it's proof that no matter how hard the culture swings against them, there are always going to be people in Hollywood who just refuse to read the room.
Am I so out of touch? No, it's the children who are wrong.
Good luck with this show, Apple, because I think you're going to need it. Anyway, that's all I've got for today. Go away now.
Oh, man. that looks like so much fun. That's just a... hat tip critical drinker. Yeah, Wrangler, I see the redneck Star Trek cast in the Discord, which is a good time to remind everyone that the permanent link to the Discord is in the description. So if you want to send a Discord message to me at 1:30 a.m. to tell me that a movie I like is trash, such as Interstellar, that's how you can do it. You can go on the Discord and let me know, and I will most likely respond. Very triggered and angry. No, I'm just kidding. Redoubt says, who funded this? How did everyone go along with it? And who the hell thought a sizable audience would watch this? Like, basically no one. Redoubt. That Apple is so... They exist in a complete ivory tower, completely isolated and cut off from civilization. Like, it's... Every single one of their science fiction shows is, other than Silo, is so boring. Like, I tried watching Dark Matter, boring. I tried watching, what was the other one they had on there? They had there was another. They're all just slow plotting. Apple TV had, even Netflix once in a while has a good one. Mostly Netflix now, their true crime stuff is all they've got left that's good. Nothing else they do is good. Oh, well, they also have Trainwreck Poop Cruise. Trainwreck Poop Cruise is a really good documentary, and I quite enjoyed it. It's horror. You want true horror? You want true blood-curdling horror that will just terrify you? Go watch on Netflix Trainwreck Poop Cruise. You will never take a cruise ship again, I promise you. And I also like the other Trainwreck entries. They have, it's a whole series. Trainwreck, that one, and True Crime. That's the best thing that's going right now on Netflix. Once Stranger Things is over, which is later this year in November, basically that's the end for my Netflix subscription. I think I'll just have to re-up on the rare occasions where I need to review something. Like maybe One Piece live action, but that's it. I think that's all she wrote for the Netflix subscription. After Stranger, there won't really be any reason to have it after that point. But you got to see Poop Cruise. It's you will not regret that watch. Absolutely not. I think we maybe need one for the road. Yeah, let's do one for the road. So I came across this video, and it's called The Wonderful Masculinity of Commander Riker from Star Trek The Next Generation. And I've never seen this channel before. I have no idea what we're in for. If it sucks, well, we'll just chalk it up to they can't all be winners now, can they? But I'm curious. My curiosity is piqued, and I am a curious
Pray for
man.
me, my fellow man, for I...
So let's just see, because I happen to feel like this, I agree with the premise, so let's see how the video goes. All right. Did we share audio, Mr. Producer? Yes, we did. All right. Roll tape.
I'm about to wade into dangerous territory by talking about masculinity on the internet. When we think of great male role...
I'm already detecting a little bit of soy, but I will allow this line of inquiry for now.
Models from the Star Trek mythos, we usually think of the captains, but if it pleases the court, I say the best male role model in all of Star Trek is none other than William T. Riker. Not only a courageous leader and man of action...
Do I agree with that, Mr. Producer? The best male role model in all of Star Trek. Commander Worf. It's definitely got to be Commander Worf. No, I'm just kidding. That's a great question. I've never thought about that. I've never actually given that any thought. I think for me, I've got to just cycle through all of them mentally here. Obviously, anyone in Kurtzman Trek is auto-disqualified. I think, for me, it would probably be... I mean, that probably would have been Captain Picard years ago. I probably would have said Captain Picard because he was my favorite character until Kurtzman Trek kind of... Kurtzman Trek really just destroyed my perception of Picard. And yes, the wonderful season 3 with Terry Metalis' writing rehabilitated a lot of that for me, for sure. But it still is never... I never can look at that character the same after Picard seasons 1 and 2. It's crazy. I'm usually able to kind of just like headcanon separate. I can't. Like I cannot see Picard the same way anymore. So we can just disqualify Picard. I think it has to be Captain Kirk or Captain Archer for me. I think Jonathan Archer or James T. Kirk would be my top two choices. And because I know the character truly, I would say better, I'm going to vote Jonathan Archer. I think Jonathan Archer is a brilliant, he's a brilliant character. He's a great role model. I'm going to go with Jonathan Archer. Crowbar the Skull says Riker was the poon hound of TNG, like the Kirk of TNG. Well, I know who Crowbar is voting for.
But also a sociable man about ship and God's gift to women. Internet discourse these days
to your
will
point,
have us
Crowbar,
believe that Riker's character is either a dated fantasy or a regressive stereotype. But rewatching TNG, you'll see that Riker...
Said no one ever. Oh my... you know... I'm getting Pajama Boy vibes.
His character doesn't feel remotely dated. He's still an aspirational character all these years later. So let's break down why people...
And I will say, like, his reprisal of Captain William T. Riker in Season 3 of Picard was marvelous. Like, he 100% inhabited that same character, just older, wiser, more world-weary. It was excellent. He blew the doors off in Season 3 of Picard.
Today often misunderstand masculinity as a concept and explore the wonderful masculinity of William T. Riker. But if, after this video, you find yourself wanting to re-watch Star Trek Next Generation but it isn't available in your region, today's sponsor ExpressVPN can help. You may not use the internet it through out-of-video receivers and our base Netflix, then with a couple of clicks using ExpressVPN, you can switch locations. Men, they say, are big and strong and they win through domination. Domination of their male rivals and the opposite sex. But domination doesn't foster healthy relationships. When people feel like you're trying to attack them or manipulate them, they're not gonna like you, no matter how big your muscles are. We can see this plainly in the Klingons. They're constantly challenging each other's manliness or Klingonness, always out to prove they're the toughest and the deadliest, and any insult must be met by either another insult or violence.
Although, if you are an astute student of Star Trek canon, you would know that in Star Trek Enterprise, there are characters that kind of explain that this is actually the warrior caste of the Klingons that are like this. Not all Klingons are warriors. Some Klingons are part of other castes in their society and behave differently. So I think it's a bit reductive to make this case about the Klingons writ large.
Riker is a man of action when he needs to be, but he's also a sociable man about town, or man about ship in his case. He's socially successful not because he's the biggest, strongest, and most dominant, but because he's a positive presence who people like being around. Riker has an infectiously upbeat attitude and takes any opportunity to inject some humor into stuffy Starfleet proceedings.
He really does, doesn't he? He is an incredibly likable character. And you know what's great is he's good at the one-liners. You know, this is before the era of MCU millennial bullshit humor, right? When a character could say something witty and funny that did not step on the scene or undermine, you know, the entire dramatic tension of a scene.
People like being around Riker because he makes them feel good. That doesn't mean he's a suck-up, though. Riker delights in playfully teasing his fellow crew members. Take this interaction with Worf, for example.
Like, I love the scene in Star Trek First Contact when Worf is evacuated from the Defiant, and he assumes the tactical station on the Enterprise E, and Riker says, "You do still remember how to fire phasers, right?" Worf gives him the stink eye. I love that.
I do not see why it is necessary to wear these ridiculous uniforms. They look like dresses.
Riker feigns outrage and scolds Worf for his aggressive attitude.
That is an incredibly outmoded and sexist attitude. I'm surprised at you.
Only to subvert this with an ironic compliment.
Besides, you look good in a dress.
This comment nicely deflates the tension he built up before and helps Worf realize how childish his complaint is. Essentially, he's saying, so what if the uniforms look silly? You're a Klingon warrior, Worf, it doesn't matter what you wear. As much as he teases other people, Riker is also great at poking fun at himself. He's a jazz lover and dabbles in playing the trumpet, but he knows he's not at a professional level, and that's fine.
So what did you wish for, Will?
Music lessons.
This is partly why Riker is so successful with women. Again, it's not because he's the strongest and most dominant, but because he has a genuine love of people. This aspect of Riker's character could...
You know, this is a great observation he's making. You know, this is when the Star Trek vision of a future enlightened man was so great. Like, Tom Paris is a great example of this. Obviously, Kirk is a great example of this. Charles Tucker is a great example. Chakotay on Voyager is a great example. They are tough in a fight. They don't back down. They stand up for themselves. They can be aggressive and decisive when called for, but they love people, and they make people feel good to be around them, which is a quality I don't have at all. So it's, you know, a healthy camera separation is what I prefer. No, I'm just, I mean, that's a great quality. And that's the idea, is like, in the future, in the Federation, humans still have their demons and they still have aggression and things like that, but they've also learned how to really care for others around them. And that, to me, is what the Federation utopia, such as it is really composed of. in the Star Trek future. It's not actually about progressivism or ideology per se. It's about how humans engage with each other in the future and with other species, of course. It's about how they relate to each other. And the way they relate to each other is no longer through this constant tribalism and rivalry. Instead, they're capable of independence and individuality, which really Star Trek is very much. It's not a modern leftist's vision of the future, that's for sure. But they are individualistic, but also take an interest and caring in other people.
Easily have come across as sleazy or creepy, but quite surprisingly, it's aged terrifically well. That's because Riker doesn't pursue relationships to show.
Oh, and that's the other thing. Jack Crusher in the 3rd season of Picard perfectly exemplified this very thing. You know, he's kind of a dashing, rogue-like character. He can be aggressive. He can be sarcastic. But at the same time, he cares about the people around him. He takes an interest in the people around him. And he even wants to sacrifice himself to save the crew of the Titan. Like, that was one of the most impressive things about the portrayal of Jack Crusher in the future, is how he very closely paralleled that enlightened masculinity of like Kirk, Riker, Archer, etc.
How manly he is. He does it because it's fun. There's so much joy and positivity in the way Riker talks about sex and relationships.
When it really works between two people, the rewards are far greater than simple friendship. How far, sir? That's what I'm hoping you're going to find out.
True, his chat-up lines are cheesy.
You are the most beautiful woman in the galaxy, but that might not work.
Yes, it would.
But they're sincere. He loves women, not because he thinks he ought to, but because he enjoys their company as people. And crucially, if he's met with rejection or embarrassment, he simply shrugs it off and moves on. Riker takes everything in stride because he has unshakable self-respect. He doesn't need the approval of others. This makes him extremely socially adept. He knows how to read the room and play to people's expectations. Take the episode A Matter of Honor. He doesn't need the Klingons to approve of him, but he plays into their culture for the sake of the mission. Riker's ego is as far away from fragile as one could get. Take this scene from the episode The Price. Ral tries to get under Riker's skin, mocking his performance in the negotiation, his position as first officer, and how, in Ral's view, Riker lost Deanna Troi to him.
And I'm going to take her too.
A weaker man would let this get to him, either throwing a tantrum or trying to one-up their competitor. But Riker simply shoots him that signature smile and refuses to take the bait. Riker knows he doesn't own Deanna Troi like a possession, and rather than arguing over who is man enough to win her, Riker completely turns the tables by rejecting Ral's framing and asking if Ral is good enough for Deanna. And this is a key component to proper masculinity. Rejecting the expectations others place upon you and instead holding yourself to your standards. We see this at play in the Best of Both Worlds. Multiple characters tell Riker that he's standing still, that he should have his own command by now, and that he's wasting his opportunities. Riker is self-aware enough to consider their words and reflect, but ultimately he concludes that it's none of their business.
With all due respect, Commander, sir, my career plans are my own business and no one else's.
Even though Riker might have ended up being the longest-serving first officer in Starfleet history, setting his own pace for his career pays off in the end. Post-Nemesis, Riker not only has his own ship, but a loving wife and family. That's something Kirk and Picard can't say. Despite all they've accomplished, they're lonely characters, who sacrificed most of their relationships for their careers. Riker, on the other hand, gets to have it all. That's why William Riker
Not exactly. His son died. And it tore him apart, almost tore apart his marriage, so that's not exactly true.
A positive example of masculinity. There's no trade-off with his character. He's ambitious and driven, but also social and well-liked. He's a courageous man of action, but he's also reflective and in touch with his emotions. He doesn't win power.
I really particularly love the episodes with Riker where he's trapped in some kind of mind game or illusion, like when he doesn't know what's happening to him, the way he reacts to it is so interesting. He, like the true aggression comes out, and there's several episodes like that, like the episode where I forget the name of the episode, but where he thinks he's going insane and he's in a mental institution. That one's really good. It's so much fun for some reason to watch Riker work his way out of a mystery. I don't know why his character in particular makes that so interesting.
Power and respect through domination and violence, but through infectious positivity and a genuine love of people. Riker's example shows us that masculinity isn't about what society expects us to be, but rather what we choose to be.
Someone once said, "Don't try to be a great man, just be a man, and let history make its own judgments."
Thank you for watching. If you liked this video and want to see more,
I will give Rowan J. Coleman a like on that video because that was a pretty interesting analysis and I fairly agree. But alas, nothing lasts forever, including the Captain's Cast on the Swords of Starships channel. Well, that's our show. We set a brisk pace today, but we had good times. Do not despair, my dear sailors and starnauts, because we will be back here in just 7 short days. Working on videos as much as possible. I know it's taking a while, but the work continues. Thanks for hanging out with me. If you enjoyed the stream, please put a like on it. Fu Man Blue, have a great weekend to you as well, sir. A little Star Trek talk at the end there. I'm a fan of it. Crowbar says, thank you, Captain. Thank you, Crowbar. Thank you, Universal. Spirited debate, as always. Thanks for coming in, Universal. Redoubt Productions. Redoubt is crushing it with the video output, so check out Redoubt's channel. He is a historian, and a great one at that. So that is our show, and until next time, this is Captain Garrett of the Swords of Starships channel saying, I will see you out there.